Press start.
Well, let's start episode 173 where we can talk more about Final Fantasy XVI and other things that are going on. That's the main thing. But there's some other stuff too that we'll get into. My name is Tim here for the Current Gen Podcast, here with Derek. Good evening.
Hello.
Kyle.
Hello.
Daniel.
Final Fantasy's great. All right, end of the show. Goodbye.
Jeffrey.
He broke the hello pattern. I was going to say hello too, but then he broke it. He just...
Dan.
No,
Dan
you left
marches
the show.
to his
Do
own
not
beat.
come back.
He literally left. What if he just
Nobody
left his
asked you to
chair
come back.
kept playing Final Fantasy off on the side? Like, I'm actually out of here.
That's what Derek used to do, right? Doesn't Derek sometimes just play a game?
I booted it up now, and I'm just, it looks good.
I've
hell we're
fallen
talking about it,
asleep. I've booted up
It's true.
games.
It's true. It's true. You've done it all.
I had to stop sharing the
All
notes with
about.
him because if he saw that I was going to talk about topics and games he didn't care about, he'd like fire up a game and just be like, "Yeah, let me know when you're ready to talk about stuff I like."
Good thing you added me. This guy wants to fire me, and you need somebody to actually talk to, but he wants to fire me.
That's right. That's right. Well, let's jump right into Final Fantasy 16. That's of course the game we've been waiting for months and months and months, and in some cases years, depending on your level of fandom. Are you going to show us something? What is this?
No, it's just
That's the
it's the
box.
game's back there. The game is watching over me.
Sorry, your screen on my screen is very small. Oh, nice.
It's a big one.
Mm-hmm.
Very
How shiny it is.
cool.
Look how shiny
Look at
it is.
What else is in there?
Honestly, not much.
Oh, okay. I was going to say.
No, that was like a terrible deluxe edition, in my opinion.
Yeah.
You know, as a nice, I mean, it's
Well,
No,
okay.
that's
that's
okay,
what
that's-
I wanted the two
Yeah.
steel cases
Steel
from
case
Best
looks
Buy, but
great.
I ended up canceling my order and I just
Hey,
went
how
to
many
the-
discs?
And then like a map, which is like I don't really care. Like, how many discs? 13 or no, 16 discs.
16
would have
discs.
been funnier.
Wow.
16 would have been funnier. So I messed that up.
Yeah, good
It's
job.
all right,
bud.
Dan. You're thrown off because you've been
16
playing
tiny
video
baby
games for
discs.
24 hours nonstop, so it's okay.
It's
It's
true.
okay. We'll let you slide on this one. I know that all of us are playing Final Fantasy 16, and before we get into our thoughts, mostly good. I think probably like overwhelmingly good, and then just for the sake of balancing it out, if there's anything about the game that you're like, it's not quite there for me, we'll talk about that too. But I also am just curious, like, Jeff and I, we were talking about this in the chat earlier this week. Is this the first game that all five of us are like have purchased day one and are diving into before?
I think so.
like, that we
Maybe
make
just this
priority?
year. I think
For this
we've done
year,
it
for this-
before. Yeah.
Oh,
But-
sure.
Like
But
there were
this year-
there were some oversights like Tim didn't get Diablo, Dan didn't get
Right.
Jedi Survivor, stuff like that. I didn't
Yeah.
really play that much Zelda at
Right.
all.
Resident Evil.
Resident Evil didn't play that. Yeah.
Okay,
So like
okay.
there, everybody's got like at least one oversight.
There's been several games that have four of us, right? Like we just
Yes.
mentioned a bunch of them that have four
Yeah.
of us that fell in love with them and dove in. But this is the first one, I think, for 2023 that all five of us, not only did we buy it day one, because there's plenty of games that we all buy day one, but then a couple of us might shelve it right away for whatever reason, for usually a good reason, other games or other things. But this one, it seems like we've all prioritized it. Like any free time I have, and even that I don't have and shouldn't be spending, I'm gonna be playing this game.
That one specifically.
That one got you, Kyle?
That one.
That one got it. So I'm pretty excited to talk about this one too. It's we already talked about the demo some last week. We'll try to keep it spoiler free for the most part. just
Nope, I'm
selfish-
going all in.
Everyone's
Don't do
dead.
that.
Clive
I don't know
is
about
gay,
that, dude.
guys.
All
Just
of
so
them
you
are-
know, Clive is fully
Can't even
gay.
finish a sentence.
What
But
do you expect? He's got a Karen haircut at 13 years old.
Listen,
true.
listen. They didn't have like barbers then or something. I don't know.
I don't know.
Dude, they
Multiple-
actually
Everyone
really
knows
did have
anime
barbers.
boys grow into their hair.
They
Okay.
do.
Yeah,
He
yeah,
do
yeah.
it really well. Yeah.
There's multiple Karen dudes in this game. Like Benedicta has a Karen
Like
haircut.
you should be
Yeah,
able to
she
go
does,
to
yeah.
like one of their little merchants, and there should be like hair gel, hairspray. Like clearly, that's a thing back
Like
then.
the pomade or whatever they
It's
use
just
in
the
Red
power
Dead.
of anime. You don't need to use any of those products. It's just anime power. It's just
Yeah.
the power of anime.
Sure. Yeah.
But because I know we're each at different areas of the game, and any listeners / watchers, we at some point this is the kind of game I could see us doing a spoiler cast on because the story is so compelling, like we've done for a few other games that are very narrative heavy. But for now, we will do our best to just talk about maybe locations or characters in a broad sense of like, hey, so there's a big thing that happens in this area, you guys know what I'm talking. Like we'll keep it broad if we can.
Oh my
Gotcha.
god,
Um,
that's going to be very difficult. There's
I know.
so many
I know.
big things in so many big areas.
Yeah, but I know you guys are also farther ahead than I am. Like I'm not super far in, probably like maybe 6
Why don't we
hours.
say? Why don't we
total.
say? Yeah, I was gonna say around like hour wise, so we can kind of get like
No
a
idea.
gist.
PlayStation's inaccurate. I have no idea.
Yeah,
Okay,
I really don't either.
The only thing I have a list of. It's not a chapter list. It's the main quest list.
Yes, I have that.
There's
I did.
68.
Yeah.
There's 68 main quests. I'm on
Looks-
number 25.
There's technically 49, and we're talking about
Oh.
when the title comes up on the screen.
So I'm in one called Hunter and Hunted. I just started, and then I had to save.
Okay.
and-
So
I think
that's
it's pretty
like number
early.
14, I think.
Okay, yeah. So I'm still.
Number
sorry,
than more than
16.
number. So
It's number
but
16.
I feel like I'm far. I got to a place, and this is not a spoiler, but it's like, hey, make sure that you want to progress because, like,
Yeah.
that's how far I'm.
Yeah, there's
The-
distinctly two halves of the game, and one of them, at the end of the first half, it'll say that. It'll be like, you better do all your side quests.
Disc 2, it'll say.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
I'm
Side
doing all
B,
the side
focused over.
quests though.
I
Like,
did too. Yeah,
Me too.
I have-
yeah,
yeah,
the
I've
pacing
done
of
everything.
those is just very,
Yeah.
very. I don't know, refreshingly good. I'm out of adjective already.
Yeah.
I'm drowning.
Well,
I'm
let's
drowning.
talk about the structure of the game first. So if you haven't played it yet, just know this is one of the more linear AAA games we've had in a while, and I love it. Even games like Jedi Survivor, even though it was a linear story, it had a ton of exploration and open spaces for you to explore and go whatever direction you want. There's even times where I felt a little overwhelmed, especially on Kobo when you first get there. I was like, oh, I
it's a
can
real
kinda
open
go-
area. Yeah,
It's
yeah.
really open. This, and maybe it happens later in the game, but this has had only a very few areas that felt open. And then once I actually started to kind of try a few different directions, I was like, oh, there's not a ton over here. There's a couple glowing items for me to pick up,
Mhm.
but I'm really just going to the next,
It's a space for creatures to crawl around to kill.
Yeah.
It's like an EXP farm mostly.
and then it's, I mean, it reminds me more of a Devil May Cry game than some of these open world games we've had
As it
because
should.
Yeah,
because
it
you
is.
can
Yeah.
go back and replay levels almost arcade style to try to get whether it's more loot or more, do a better
It's-
job or whatever.
It's
So
literally something that's called arcade mode.
called
or
arcade.
whatever.
Right.
Yeah, it's
Gives
called
you- I think they
arcade.
give you like letter
Yeah.
scores and everything too in that mode. So
Yeah, S to whatever.
Okay.
Like I got to a part in the game where, without spoiling it, where your character like develops even more, and I was like, "Am I playing Devil May Cry?" Like that's
Yeah,
literally what I
yeah.
said. It's like, "Is this Devil May Cry?"
I
Because
gotta
the-
just play those damn games, especially 5.
the more
Dude,
like
Devil May Cry
that's
is
huge.
great.
yeah, they're the best.
But-
not only did the character design change, which
Yes.
was super cool, but the amount of moves that you're unlocking. So like one of my
Yeah.
concerns, I wasn't
Yeah.
on the demo show, but when I played the demo, one of my major concerns was I was like, first of all, this is extremely easy. Second of all, like I am kind of bored with the combat. Meaning I understood it was the beginning of the game, but I was like, are they really gonna is there gonna be much to this? Because I don't like one button combat games. Like I don't like hit square over and over. So I was a little concerned with that. And then I went and played like the level 13 part of the demo. And I was like, okay. And then I watched some other guys play. I was like, okay, I think there's gonna be more to this. That being said, and I'm only, again, probably a third through the game, I'm going, there's way more than I can even remember. Like, my brain gets overwhelmed, especially if you got to freaking manage your dog, who is very important. Not only does he add on to your combos, but he can
Good boy.
help heal you during combat.
And
But
he's
there's
the
many
goodest boy.
times where I think
Best
I'm
boy.
commanding him to do something, and I'm just wasting potions, and I'm like, damn it, I'm already
Yeah.
full health, and I keep taking
Whoops.
potions.
Okay, but
I'm not
does
doing
his,
anything
does
with
his heal
Torgal.
kind of suck, or is it just me? Like
He's only healing what you get hit there. When you get hit,
the
there's
light
like this-
green, the little
Yes.
light. Okay.
Yeah.
okay.
It's only what's in combat, and
That's
you only
why,
have, I think,
okay.
a certain amount of time. And if you
I
don't
will
use
say,
it,
Tim, I don't rely on it because of that.
Yeah,
But,
I stopped
yeah.
doing it. I was like, all right, I'll just use him for an attack, and because I love his combo attack when you do sick, and if you do it in the right timing with your combos, it's awesome, and it's very sad.
I
and the little
love when he
notification-
like
little
pops
things-
enemies up.
when the
too.
little notification
Oh yeah, and he
comes up
spins like in a
that you
ball.
had like the spinning, but when it comes up and tells you that you got a successful combo with Torgal, like that's very satisfying. I'm like, all right, cool. I didn't know if I did that. Good for me.
Yeah.
Go. But no, you mentioned Devil May Cry. I feel like old school Final Fantasy fans if you weren't ready for it already with how the series has been shifting, I think it's becoming more action oriented. 15 was much more action oriented. 7 remake was very action oriented, and this is just a straight up. Honestly, it feels like a character action game with awesome RPG elements in it. That's what it feels like to me.
Yeah.
7 remake and even 15 still had a lot of like, I don't know. I don't feel like it went this far. Like
No,
I never played.
They had party
15.
management, and this has no party management. This is
Yeah,
just a character
I never
action
felt
game.
like when I was playing
Yeah.
15, which had a lot of action, but you could still play, like you could still, use magic and stuff. And I know you can use magic in this, but the magic attacks are quick in this. In 15,
well, the magic
it wasn't
attacks are the Devil May Cry guns. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
so
exactly
it's
it.
like it's the
Literally
same.
matched to a
It's the same
button.
face too. So like triangles,
it's
the
more-
guns.
It's more Devil May Cry and Nier than it is.
Very
some of
much
the
near,
other
yeah.
two.
The dog
Yeah.
feels like near, but having that extra kind of, thing to kind of manage like your companion. I just it's really interesting what they did here with turning it into that action game, because you have your classic like a lunge, forward where you're closing the distance. You have your classic like smash down and stuff like that when you're up in the air. These are like all Devil May Cry moves, but
And there's
the
no
extra-
party to manage. Unless
Yeah.
there's something coming in the game that I'm not aware of, that I have
No.
not seen or heard
Yeah.
about.
You fight with other.
I'm
people.
well in the back half, and there's
There's
no
there's
argument.
NPCs that'll join you and fight along with you, which is awesome. It actually is quite helpful in some cases, but you don't control them, you don't equip anything to them, you don't give them materia or an icon to equip. You don't do any of that kind of stuff. Like it's just one character who happens to have a doggy pal who you can use in some limited capacities.
Exactly.
And that to me is one of the biggest. Like the action part is a change, but I felt like Square's been moving Final Fantasy a little more action with each entry in the last few entries, at least. Maybe I'm wrong.
No, you're right.
So I wasn't that surprised at how actiony it feels. I was surprised. I was like, oh, this is really just it's not really a party-based RPG at all. This is the first Final Fantasy game, I think, where you don't have a party to manage. You don't have multiple characters to equip and gear up and level up. But I could be wrong. Maybe
That's
there was another one.
interesting. So they're leaving that for Octopath, I guess.
I guess, yeah. I mean, I guess unless you don't count. I mean, I don't count the 11 or 14 entries, which
Well, of
are
course, those are
MMOs, and that, of course, is where you're a single character with other players. But I don't count those. So in
No,
terms of single player Final Fantasy games, this is the first time you haven't had a party. To me, that was the biggest kind of. Oh, this
That's
is
what
not
makes this
what I'm
like a
used to.
perfect entry level game, especially for people like me. I'm not that this is an entry level game, but because I've played like 5 Final Fantasy, I've beaten 2.
Okay.
I don't. So like, I mean, I'm not like a total noob, but if somebody were like, I've never played one, I want to try it out and see what's up, they will be able to put this aside with like and compare it to other modern quote unquote masterpieces, I guess, of like Spider-Man and God of War and stuff like that. Third person RPG and like the action is just so accessible, even though you're doing a lot. You can. I mean, if
They drip
you
feed it
choose
so
to.
perfectly, though.
Yeah,
that,
yeah.
Like you're never drowning and like, I don't know what all
like
this
I have
stuff
free
is,
icons
I
now.
would
If I started the game
say-
with free icons, I'd be like, "What? I don't.
Yeah,
what?
me
I don't
too.
understand this."
Yeah.
Like, I'd be drowning.
I
for
would
sure.
say that this is easier. The game's not easier. Like when you get later in the game, it's not easy.
No,
But like, it's easier than old school Final Fantasy, because old school Final Fantasy was all built off number systems and knowing their terminology, their items. Everything was important. Like it kind of like Octopath. Like I ran into walls in Octopath. Why? Because there's certain enemies that had certain weaknesses or certain strengths that I didn't
That you didn't
understand,
have
or I
ready
didn't
to
have
go.
I
Yep.
didn't have the equipment, I didn't have the
Yep.
leveled up. You're not running into that in this. It's simple as
That's a good
this. You
point.
follow a story. It's all based off your skill in combat. If you suck at the game, they give you items to make it easier for you if you want. So it is way more accessible mentally, and even if you suck physically, they go, here's something to help you physically
they give
with
you
your
charms or
skill
whatever.
up.
Yeah.
And Dan, what do you think about some of these changes, as well as like, for example, there's only, I think, 4 types of potions in this whole game. Think about all the item types. Maybe there's more later. But
there
okay, I've only seen 4, but there's not a lot, right? There's not a lot of
No,
of,
it's
like,
not overwhelming or nothing, but there's like I'm like at 8 or 9
Listen,
now.
in past
Yeah.
Final Fantasy games, my inventory got obscene. Like the
I didn't
There's like
use-
3
things
tiers
I
of every
I
type of
didn't use
potion
like
or buff
100
or-
of my
yeah.
items in Final Fantasy
Oh, I would
VII,
have
which
I would have
just
things
clicked.
99'd out all the way down my
Like,
list.
I have no idea
the
what the hell
my
this
gosh.
thing is.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's
Well,
none of that, which is refreshing for sure. A lot of this.
I mean, like, because when you're looking at the game, yeah, like even comparing, like Kyle was saying, it's literally you have magic attached to triangle, which is much like the shotgun in like Devil May Cry. There's no MP in this game. There's no magic
true.
points. You're literally
That's
just
too far.
It's
it's
cooldowns.
just something you're doing
Cooldowns,
in
yeah.
the moment. So like right there, you take away any sort of magic related items, or elixirs, which is for HP and MP.
Right. Yeah.
It doesn't seem to be anything pertaining to status ailments. Like I'm not getting poisoned or anything. So unless that's
True,
something
I
introduced later,
I didn't actually catch
Yeah.
that.
it would
Yeah,
have
you're
to be
right.
way later.
yeah, that's what I mean. So like you're
Okay,
taking
so
away
status is gone too. Interesting. I didn't
Yeah,
think
so
about
you're
Yeah.
taking away all of these elements that tradition, and they probably did that because they really wanted to focus on the combat being as honed in as perfectly as possible, where you're not getting overwhelmed with like, oh, now I'm poisoned. Let me like
Yeah.
do this, that, because you also can't go
imagine
menu.
that with multiple enemies. Yeah.
Yeah,
I don't-
right.
I don't know.
Or getting petrified, just slowing down your locomotion of the combat like completely.
Yeah.
I bet they thought about all that and they were like, that stuff's not going to work in terms of like,
attached
our
to
combat system.
to the D-pad. So if you're, up, right, and down, you can designate to certain items, whatever it is that you want. And then if you hit
Yeah.
left, it goes to toggle. So like then you
Yeah.
can switch to toggle to do the move. So you're doing that also in the middle of combat if you want to. I actually have the ring equipped just for toggle to just act on his own. I've
Same,
actually
yeah,
done that because
yeah.
it's like, and this isn't meant to sound.
Because he will literally do nothing if you forget about him, like I do. I forget about him.
Then that's what I
He'll do
thought is I'd be
nothing.
so
Okay.
into the combat I'd forget about him all the time.
He might attack randomly
okay.
every once in a while. But
I'm
otherwise,
using them quite a bit. I love
Okay.
I love that feeling of like, oh, they started looking at my buddy. Like I just love engaging.
Automatically he's
Action.
constantly fighting.
Yeah,
You've seen him,
and
it's
that's why for
awesome,
me
yeah.
it works out really well because like then it just leaves me to focus on doing
I like
things.
that.
And,
I'll
and
have to do
because-
that.
Yeah.
Big damage,
because I'm
yeah.
so used to playing these guys, I've played all of the Devil May Cry, so like it's one of my favorite series. So I'm used to this kind of combat. I'm just like, let me
Yeah.
just focus on what I'm doing. And Torgal is being a badass on his own. That's fine. So I'm
Yeah.
willing to take up that one slot of the
I think
access. for-
you guys are all kind of like on normal. I'm not on normal difficulty,
Yeah, I'm on
but
normal.
I'm certainly not equipping everything that will make it a breeze. So like the only thing I've equipped is slow mo for dodge, and I actually enjoy toggling Torgal.
Torgal.
But
The Torgal
but,
toggle.
I noticed that the damage that I receive in some shots,
Hmm.
depending on the boss, sometimes it's like, oh, that was like a half of my health. What the hell was that?
Because
so, like,
there's no difference between action and story.
well, I don't
The
know.
only difference is
Is
if
it
you
equips
pick
those things, right?
if you pick story mode, it just equips all the items. But if you unequip them, then
That's
you
what I
get the
thought.
same level of
So it's the
damage.
same difficulty. Okay, so
Yeah.
it's mainly to do with the fact that the reason that it feels like a breeze to me and that I'm not, getting obliterated by some enemies is, well, not only am I adjusting to the combat, but I'm over leveled. Like I'm actually like doing things
Yeah.
to the side first before I
Nice.
do anything main
I
quest
think what they
related.
really wanted to do lean heavily into with the accessibility stuff in the combat because you have everything that you're doing to cause damage to your enemies, and then you have the dodging because there's no blocking in the game. There's
Yeah.
no blocking.
No parry.
There's a
no
parry.
blocking.
There's a parry,
Yeah,
but it's
yeah, yeah,
very.
there is-
Oh
very
yeah,
tough.
that's right. You have to swing
You have
right
to-
as they.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's tough.
Exactly. So they obviously
When it
wanted
happens,
to-
I'm like, did I break the game?
I know.
Because
Yeah,
I
Yeah,
never.
I like the slow mo.
Yeah.
Yes, it's
but
pretty
they
good.
I've
obviously
only done it by
wanted to-
accident, if I'm being honest. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
exactly.
They wanted people to have that easy, being able to dodge things, whether it just do it for you if you just don't have the capability, whatever handicap you have, or the slowdown thing. And I think that's smart because for people who were concerned about having to dodge things perfectly and all of that, like it's just there for you.
Yeah, I need
I
that.
don't-
That feels so good. It's like the Batman dodging, where it's like precision.
You know what feels even better,
It's
Jeff?
a strike. Oh man.
Dodging things exactly perfectly without any of the rings. It feels fucking amazing. Like it's.
I
Yeah,
mean,
but I
I
would
get
just get
frustrated because I
attacked
miss
so
a lot,
much.
but when I do
I
get
know.
it, it feels so
I know.
good.
Yeah.
I do
will
like the
say-
slow mo on that too. That's very Bayonetta, where it's
Yeah.
like you got that
Especially
perfect
that
dodge and it
heavy-
just everything slows down.
Yeah, and then you do the heavy strike back.
Yep.
Oh my
What's,
gosh, that feels
what's
so
even
good.
cooler for me,
Counterattack it.
because I have that thing on, it's like a last minute dodge where it slows time, is when I do a precision dodge before it happens, and
Oh,
then
sure.
I'm like, And I'm like, should I take this off? No. And then I get to that one boss who does like the one-hit kill move that I forget to dodge or something. And I'm like, well, I got to keep it on. I don't know. I don't know. I'm just not confident enough in some action.
Oh, that's fine. Again, if it's not a genre that you normally are playing and you're not used to, then
it's like
again,
my only genre, which is like I just want to be good. That's all it is.
If you use the ability screen to master that dodge, it increases the window of time where you can get a precision dodge.
Oh, nice.
So like if you go to abilities and master that, the only description I could find under mastering it was it increases the window of time for a precision.
Nice.
dodge.
Oh, okay. So maybe once I do that, if I haven't already, because I'm pretty much just auto applying points.
Yeah,
like,
I didn't level up any of my abilities until I got the first like powerful one on the Phoenix, like the 2500 one. Dude, that one's a game changer. When you unlock that,
doesn't it
especially
heal
early
you too? It attacks and heals you.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
it stacks.
that explains why my
the whole
HP is
room
like,
goes
I'm
down
healed.
too.
That explains so much. Okay.
Does it take a long time to refresh, like the cooldown?
It does.
takes
Yeah.
a while.
It's got a little bit of a cooldown.
I'm
on it,
working to upgrade it next. That's
Same.
the one I want to next. But it's so powerful. Like again, I'm not early, but I'm only in the first third, and I don't think normal gamers would unlock that if they were just grabbing all the little stuff.
Yeah.
So I wanted to grab it right away. So I just let my numbers accumulate, and then I looked at my screen. I was like, I got enough, and I can upgrade other stuff.
But
That's another thing that they simplified about this game is the ability screen. So like in the past Final Fantasies, you would have these huge webs of abilities that every character you had to manage. They did over the years start to add some really cool automatic things where you could just kind of auto upgrade abilities for characters, like auto unlock stuff. But for the most part, if you were like me, you're like, well, I want to manage this. I want to see exactly what they're doing, and I want to that would take a ton of time. And this now, like Jeff said, you can just have it auto unlock stuff, so it'll automatically master moves for you or unlock things for you that it recommends, and you can at any point unmaster or totally unlearn something, and you keep all the points. Like respecking is just like that.
That's exactly what I was going to say, is because every single time I've acquired a new icon ability, I will literally just unspend all my points and respend it again. And it makes it so like it spends money on the most expensive, hard-hitting moves first and upgrading those, and then it moves on to like the little stuff that I've already had unlocked before, but I just don't need as
I've just
much.
gotten into a habit with the charge attack where your blade catches on fire and you slam them.
I love that attack.
And then also the jumping fire one. So when you jump and hit square and X at the same time, and he slashes down with the fire sword. Yeah. So those are the two that I use those a lot, and they actually kind of do a minor stun when they hit.
I recommend, like, you can actually, when you're in the middle of hitting a special, you can charge your sword, which is the best. It's the best. Like, I'll be in the middle of an action, and I'll just charge my sword, so right after I can just hit him.
Well, he's got to hold in square, and then it's
so good.
Ignites.
That's what I like that they've added here, and with people complaining, like, oh, you're just mashing square. And it's like, yeah, I mean, technically you could.
It's a Square Enix game. What do you want? It's Square.
It's true. It's true. That's very true.
Square NX, so they want you to use X.
Yeah, they want you to use X too. You got to jump and hit square a lot. Yeah.
What a dumb name for
pretty soon to be.
But yeah, like
triangle later on.
You can just be hitting the buttons, or you can hold the buttons. You can charge your freaking fireball and just like do like an explosive like.
There's still a lot of strategy to the game because I would have been the one that
knowing when to slam down on someone with your fire sword, knowing when to close that distance with the lunge and all that stuff. Like it's there's a dance to it. Like there.
You know, when I
just unlocked the second icon,
but I hit circle and went straight into the enemy and got obliterated. Like I can't even tell you how many times I've done that.
Like,
I'm like, dude, I cannot remember.
Icon's set of moves, and when you stagger an enemy, I just now got into a rhythm of using all four special moves.
Oh,
well, you can pull them down, but also when you fully that's halfway staggered, right? So, but when you fully stagger
them, it helps them because you can just unload a special on them, and it'll get that stagger bar like way knocked down.
Yeah, exactly. But when they're fully staggered, you can do this whole combo of moves that includes like the rising attacks from that second icon, the slam down moves, and then one that you just hit square as fast as you can because you're just slicing, and then you go back to the uppercut and this like. Once you
I'm laughing because when you get that third icon and you have like the most powerful moves equipped for at least one of each. That's what I have. I have like one that's like
back to back.
Yeah, I'm just when they're staggered, I'm just like constantly switching and hitting them, obliterating. They gotta feel violated.
That's exactly what you're supposed to do. And then when the stagger thing goes down, it like shows how much damage you did. You're like, oh shit, I just did that much damage. All right. Cool.
And then when I run out and the stagger is still going, I'm like, oh, better prime because you unlocked
some of these abilities. like you can spam them, and when I say spam them, I understand they have to refresh. So I'm not saying you can just do them over and over, but they're actually, if you use them the correct way, some of them are used for like maybe when an enemy's rising up to hit you, if you perfectly time it, it will actually stagger them. It won't just be a powerful hit; it will fully stagger them, and then boom, that opens them up for you to go off on a combo or whatever. So there's, like I said, there's a lot of strategy. Yes, you are technically just using square for most of the for the combat, but there's a lot of strategy, a lot of timing. Some of it, don't get me wrong, when I first started playing, I was like, dude, I don't know what's going on, man. This is too much. Especially when your character changes and other characters on the screen get bigger and stuff like that. I'm like, dude, I don't even know what's freaking going on. But as you play it more and more, and for me, I'm just going to speak for me. For me, my biggest issue is muscle memory. Like, it takes me a little while to my brain and my body to memorize things together. Because like I said, for a long time, I was hitting circle to dodge, but I kept launching into the enemies. Same thing with the healing and stuff like that. Like I said, I'm in the middle. I'm focusing on all this fast-paced action, and I kept using potions over and over. Which that's the worst when you're fighting a boss, and you're like what was the last boss? The last boss I fought was like this huge epic battle. And I was literally down.
There's only one of those in the game, so it's I don't know.
Yeah, those don't happen on repeat.
But I'm saying
one time early on.
My last one was like this huge epic battle. It was the biggest one I ran into, and I was like getting nervous because he was getting low. But then I looked, and I was down to like this much health, no health because I had wasted a bunch of them thinking I was sending in attacks.
That's another smart reason to equip the Torgal thing. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Agreed.
I'm not going to because now I've muscle memory my brain to go and look. So I know what I'm doing here. Now.
Yeah.
It was in the beginning I was messing up a lot, but like as you learn the systems and your brain and your body become, I guess in a way, one when you're playing a game, it becomes easier is what I'm trying to say. It can be overwhelming. I won't say in the beginning because like I said, they kind of make it easy, but when you start fighting bosses towards like after you're in the game a little bit, it can be a little overwhelming until you get that.
It can.
Yeah.
If I had to nitpick one little thing with combat is I don't think the lock-on's that great. Like tapping L1 you can't switch between enemies super easily.
You can't, well, yeah. Okay, sorry. Yeah, you can't. It's just clicking the stick, which is not fun.
No, I'm saying you can't. I should have said that better. They don't do a good job of allowing you to switch between enemies. So many other games have a quick flick of the right stick to switch who you're focused on. So I find myself
an option in the menu to switch it automatically.
Yeah, I have that turned on. Yeah.
So you can actually change it with the right stick.
So you'll click on an enemy, so you'll lock on that one, you'll fight him, but once you destroy him, I think it auto switches it if you tell it to in the menu.
That's good. But I still like the idea of like being able to quickly.
No, I agree. I want to still manually do it because the camera's kind of close up sometimes in combat, and there's guys behind me, and I can't see them. So I want to be able to, like, even if I'm fighting one guy, I might want to switch real quick just to see where they're at, and then I can go back, but I can't.
Yeah. Actually, I ran into an issue where, like, I targeted, like, it was like a griffin or I don't know. It was one of the optional hunts or whatever. And I targeted it, and every time I did, like, I couldn't see its attacks. It was so big to the screen. But I was well, I guess I can't target this thing because like I can't see half the attacks it's doing to dodge it at all.
To its credit, it does a good job with auto
minor
locking. Red. Like even if you don't hit the L1 to lock, like it still kind of auto hones most of your attacks.
There's like a laser pointer
circle.
A little tiny pointer. So like I haven't actually been in battles and like gotten frustrated by that even a little bit. I've just noticed like I'd like to be able to quickly switch who I'm locked onto, but it hasn't messed up my combat. For me personally, at all.
Much like
I think it helps having Torgal, and then even there's a chick that's with you a lot too.
Jill.
And they kind of like keep other enemies away from you, so you really can't. Even though you have like 6 to 8 enemies, a lot of times you are 1v1. I mean, I'm not saying there hasn't been times other guys have jumped in and hit me, but it's not as often as I thought it would be.
So what I'd even recommend, just like, and maybe you guys already do this, is like what I'll try to do is try to get someone, like when there's a group of them, like someone that's kind of the furthest on the outside of like the ring of enemies, and then kind of have my back like facing away from them. You know what I mean? So I'm looking at the group. I try to basically kind of keep dodging away from everything to kind of have nobody behind me, and then I'm focusing at everyone in front of me, and I can just kind of then keep bouncing between all the enemies. Yeah. That's what I try to do, because if you do get surrounded, although there is a system there, it's just I guess maybe not as. Maybe they need to almost like make it bigger visually, but like with God of War, how they'd show all the kind of little red things like behind, like someone's behind you about to attack you. They have something like that there.
Camera's a little further away. It's not like we talked about with both God of Wars where it's on his butt. It's a little further away. So
the only times I've really noticed it was when I needed to take out a healer of a group first or something like that, or like range.
Oh yeah.
Then I've noticed because I'm like I can't lock on that person. It's locking on the wrong person, and I can't quickly switch over to who I want. That's it. That's the only time I've been like, that's annoying.
Clicking into the stick to switch is not fun. Like it doesn't feel great.
But the other problem with that is that it's not directional. So like it doesn't. Yeah. You don't get to pick like cycle to the right to like get to the guy.
You should be able to cycle. I don't know if they'll do it, but I think they should patch that in.
Yeah, that's just a minor thing. Again, it's basically based on the other character action games I've played. Yeah. And I expect the lock on to work in a certain way. Just like with I expect circle to be dodge, which it's not. That took me a little bit of time too, Derek, to kind of figure that one out. I did dodge into
especially coming off of Diablo for like 80 whatever hours. Like that's dodge.
And
that's
circle
dash.
Is dodge.
So, or not dash.
I never understood why they just don't like I don't understand why they do this in games. Like just let me choose what I want the buttons to be. Like how hard could that possibly be to just let me go in the menus?
Yeah, I love that. They have presets, even though they have multiple ones. Like I want to just be able to go, nope, circle's my dodge.
Right.
You know, I'll do R1 as your shoot in, lunge attack type thing. I'll do that. That would have to me been better. I don't know why they didn't do that.
I just don't know why. It's almost like a stubbornness thing. It's just like no, you're gonna learn it. It's like, how does that affect you? Like, just let me,
I noticed that way back on the PlayStation 1 too. There were certain games, and it was usually Japanese RPGs, where circle was the select button and X was to cancel.
Yeah,
and I was like, you're just being annoying.
Confusing.
Well, Metal Gear Solid did that too. Yeah, but I think maybe it was just Konami because Suikoden had that for a couple of them.
I was like, it's a Konami thing. Yeah.
It's a Konami thing. So Kyle, what do you think about this so far? What's been I know you're a big fan of Devil May Cry and Final Fantasy. What do you think about kind of the merging of these two experiences?
Yeah, I mean, it's a merger I never thought I wanted or needed, but definitely glad I have now, because I mean, it does just feel like I'm playing some kind of weird extension of Devil May Cry. Even, I mean, from the trailers you get that your character controls Ifrit or whatever, and that's very Devil May Cry. Like whenever Dante would turn, into his devil form.
Yeah,
it's there's a lot of similarities in that regard. And none of us have really touched much on the story, and we're not going to get into details. But I'm really loving all of that. All of that is very good. I think the characters are really interesting and cool. I think the stakes are really interesting and sometimes high, and sometimes things get really bloody.
Especially because the stakes spell themselves out very like drip feed, much like the controls.
We were talking about it in the group that the pacing is just really good, and I think the linearity of everything services that pacing really well.
For sure.
So you're just getting like you're getting used to all these people, because like they're throwing a lot of characters at you, and but it doesn't ever feel overwhelming or anything like that. So I'm really enjoying that aspect of it quite a bit, which you got from the demo, but like. Yeah. The crescendo of like the stakes, if you will, are just so high. Where I'm at right now.
The demo is like, oh, dude, I hear you. Like the demo is like the stakes are this, and this is what you're going after. And then when it opens up, like a third of the way through, I think, and tells you, no, here's what we're actually gonna do. Like here's our end goal. I'm like, whoa. This is a dense
one. It's pretty interesting, kind of like what some of the objectives turn into and everything like that. And I just get a lot of Final Fantasy X vibes from this game, from its linearity, where 10 was a corridor simulator. You were just walking and fighting, and you'd get to like a 40-minute cutscene, and it's Aeon driven, as they were called in Final Fantasy X, so it's summons driven. Like everything about the culture of the world and everything like that all revolves around like these summons, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And I like it when Final Fantasy leans into that, you know.
Yeah.
6 did that, right? 6 was very centered on the summons.
Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely, yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. So you know, there have been a few, you know, across time where the summons really mattered.
And sometimes they're just like, hey, it's a cool magic attack you can do.
Yeah. Other times it is just that. Yeah, it's your ultimate magic attack. But yeah, no, it's so ingrained into what's going on in the world and everything like that. And I think I've likened it to a lot of Attack on Titan as well, with all the political intrigue and the people who can bear the summons or the Titans are kind of treated like slaves and stuff like that. You know, so it's like or weapons, tools, if you will. So it's like there's just a lot of similarities
treated
there.
so horribly.
Yeah.
So that's actually
that just gets worse. Like I feel like they just keep on piling on with that.
Worse.
I'm like this is awful. Y'all are so mean to these people.
Like it's literally like classism. It's this whole dynamic of like there's all this stuff going on that Clive needs to do, but like then he gets the tattoo on his face for reasons, and then that's like once that starts to unfold and you start to learn more about that, and you're meeting people and the way that they talk to you and it's
They're
like
such
holy
dicks. Even vendors that are like, yeah, I want your money, but like, come on, let's go.
Dude, I don't sell to your kind. There's a lot of that too.
But even the people in your hideout, like throughout the game so far, they're always annoyed when I talk to them. Like, oh, hurry it up! Like, come on.
Yeah.
Like,
right.
Oh,
yeah.
they're actually pretty polite. Well, some of them are a little edgy.
At the very least, they're snarky in a friendly way, if not flat out rude.
The Black Knight is kind of snarky too.
But that's classic RPG. That's classic RPG stuff. It's like they want to make them feel real in a world where they're busy and have stuff going on, and you're kind of interrupting what they're doing. So I get it.
That's definitely beginning stuff because the relationships evolve in such a beautiful way later on in the game for sure.
Well, I was gonna say some of those that you meet like early on, so that when you get to the hideout first, is that you have
someone named Karen, by the way.
Yes.
It's felt like Sharon. Why don't you say it? Sharon?
But when you go to like the fat chocobo, which is like the little like whatever the hell you want to call it, and like they're all sitting at tables, and he's like, "Hey, want to pass out food?" And it's like, "Well, this is a really dumb side quest. Why am I like helping you like feed people?"
I've done that twice now. I'm like, what am I doing right now?
But like the first guy that you meet, there's like an old guy there. He's got the tattoo in his face, and like the again, it speaks to the voice acting overall in this game. This is just a random NPC, and like the genuineness in his voice of like how thankful he is that you just gave him food. Yeah. It was like, oh damn.
I just had a part like right before I was going into a town that was being raided or whatever. There's a part where like the enemies go up to each other, they do each other's salute, and I'm like, oh, they're just gonna do hand. Like my video gamer brain is like, oh, they're just gonna do hand symbols at each other and gesture where they need to go. No, it's fully voice acted, and they're like, secure this, and like it's like sounds so good. Like you guys didn't need to go this far, and it's. Yeah, it just the quality is just next level.
I haven't heard a single voice that's like bad. There was one guy that I met, and I don't know if you guys did the side quest. There's basically like this side quest where they're talking shit, and you're like, all right, well, whatever, let's just get and it's just kind of like a sparring thing. This one guy is like, his voice is unbelievably annoying. Like I really enjoyed beating the crap out of him.
But I think that was
maybe
the
that's
point.
on purpose. Yeah, it's got a very
high quality. Like it's still high quality, but he had an annoying voice, and I was like, I want to beat the shit out of you, dude. Like I can't.
I'm glad to hear that the side quests vary. I've only probably done 3 or 4, and so far it's like serving meals or delivering wood.
And I hear in the back half they're a lot more elaborate.
Yeah, I don't think they're that great. Like I've done.
Square's never been great at the
I've
side
done like
quests.
15 of them, maybe more.
That's the most RPG thing about the game so far, though, to be honest with you, because there's no dialogue choices. There's not a ton to equip, or like the abilities are pretty automatic. So to me, it's one of the more RPG things about the game that reminds me that, hey, this is a deep RPG, other than the story, of course. We've learned you can have great stories outside of RPG games. Like that is a misnomer that's been put to bed a long time ago. So you don't have to be an RPG to have a great story. So to me, like the most role-playing game element of it is, oh, I get to choose who I want to help in this world through this side story system. So I don't know if I've heard that those get more intricate and more interesting, but
so far it is a little bit, because like that was a gripe with 7 Remake, was like, oh, these are just kind of like
those were terrible.
Like
helping the teacher do her job because she wants to leave early. Like, do you know how bad I wanted to yell at her? Like, I'm not getting your paycheck. Go get your own kids. You're ridiculous.
But yeah, I think like Kyle said, I think they get like kind of more interesting
Well,
as
they certainly give you a better reward. Like in the second half, there's one like right away. You'll notice the side quest icon starts to change a little bit. If it has a plus on it, go do it because you're gonna get something from that side quest that's gonna get you something that's like gonna help you big time.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So
now, does this game
for sure?
Does this game is it gonna eventually have? And maybe this isn't known yet, and maybe this is a big spoiler, so don't answer if it is. But like, will it have the big super weapons or ultima weapons to fight, or like gear to get? Like, there's always legendary stuff in these Final Fantasy games. Like each character usually has a
pass.
Yeah,
I'll just say this: when you fight like a big boss, so again, I'm not talking late game. I'm not late game. You always get materia from them that you can use to create a weapon.
Yeah, I've
It's
created
all
some really cool swords out of bosses.
Yeah.
Well, I've gotten that.
But yeah,
so
in
more
terms of the
blacksmith
great
focused.
summons and stuff like that,
Yeah.
I'm just
I
saying,
could
like,
answer that, but not. I wouldn't want to right
I
now.
know-
That's totally fair. Yeah.
I know exactly what you're saying because that's something that I definitely miss from like even just like because Final Fantasy X is it was a while ago it came out, but not too long ago, and it's like I miss those like those quests of like going for the best weapon or
Yeah, it has
or
nothing to
the
do with
best
the
Oh,
main
I didn't.
story,
Yeah,
but
do we
you
know
go
anything
through
about the
a cave
legendary
and
weapon?
then you
Yeah.
you fight through a dungeon of enemies, you fight a boss, and then there's a chest that has the sword that's only for
Yeah.
Aron or whoever. It's like,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah.
So
or
like,
all of the stuff for Knights of the Round. Like I
Or
mean
the
that-
Knights
That
of the
I'm not
Round
sure.
for
Yeah,
Final
the
Fantasy
weapons
VII.
portion of it, I hope that that's still around because I think hunting ultimate
Okay.
weapons.
that's kind of what I was getting at was the
Yeah,
idea.
I
of,
thought
like,
you meant like the actual summon, like Ultima, and like
Oh,
the other
no.
like the other hidden
Like secret-
bosses that
like
are in these
secret
games.
optional bosses.
Because
things
yeah,
like-
optional bosses. Thank you.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
15 even had those where it's like you don't have to do it, but if you want to go fight this big dumb turtle thing for 24
That
hours,
was
you know,
so
like
Yeah.
That was so stupid,
They have-
Kyle.
they
Oh my
have a ton.
god.
yeah, but there's other ones too. There's so I don't know if the optional bosses are
Yeah,
there, and I don't know if ultimate weapons are there, but I hope
Okay.
both are there because those
They
are like
have-
big pillars
they have
of Final
notorious-
when I was
Fantasy
saying
games.
I've
ultimate
done-
weapons is weird because there's enemies called ultimate
Ultimate weapon,
in the
yeah,
final,
which
so
is
like
Well, so
Well,
they
this
have
is
the
spelled.
they have the notorious hunts. I don't know if you guys have done any of those yet, but where it's like a griffin or like one of those the thing with the wings. It's just an eyeball. I can't remember, but what it's called. But anyway, they have those, and they tell
And I
you
think
you go to like a thing at one of your hideaways or what I think that's what they call it, right? And and he's like, here's a list of like bounties basically. And
Okay,
they give you a
okay.
rating of how
so
difficult
there's some
the
optional
hunt is. Yeah,
battles there.
it'll be
That's
like
cool.
C, B,
Yeah,
and
okay,
apparently
good.
there's some S tier bosses that are extremely difficult. Maybe
Nice.
not 24-hour fights, hopefully. But yeah, they just tell you the general region, and you have to go around and
Well, that's
explore.
great. I love
Yeah,
that.
I'm here for
That's
that.
Great.
Yeah.
I've done a
I'm
couple
here
of
for that.
those, but apparently there's like 20 or 30.
It's funny. I think Hideaway. I think of like some spot that some little kid goes to read a book quietly or something, like a little hideaway. Like I don't think of like a cool hideout. with, like,
Treehouse, yeah.
Can we just talk about how like people are acting because everything
No, we don't have
nowadays everything just devolves nowadays into the bullshit of like it's 1080 this and frames that and it's like I'm sorry this game is gorgeous like you're all a bunch of
Yeah.
morons.
Gorgeous.
Like
Yeah.
like holy shit like you're all stupid. This game is
Oh, I will
not-
say,
like-
technically speaking, on that front, I only had an issue with the camera where I was like, it feels like it's jerky. What's going on? And then I realized, I had to turn up the vertical and horizontal, like
okay.
vertical and whatever.
Yeah,
I had
yeah,
to turn it. I had to turn it up by 1, and it felt way smoother. Like so, it was
Yeah,
really
nice.
just a me preference. That's all it was.
Yeah, I get it.
But other than
I get
that, it looks great. In
I had to do that in the
frames,
The Witcher. I want to say it was The Witcher 2, maybe. Like, anyway, in the Witcher games, I've had to adjust camera sensitivity. Lots of games I've had to do that because
Third
I had a
person, I think all third person camera speeds are
Yeah.
kind of a preference for sure. Yeah.
But I just think that
I think the. Go ahead, finish, and then
No, I
I'll
was just
I'll
saying
comment
that
on the graphics.
I love the aesthetic of like certain like all the architecture of the Fallen stuff.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Yeah, very
Like
cool.
the white stone, like kind of really carved, like it almost looks like
There he
like
goes with the
sharpened
cliffs,
bones.
stones.
Yes, the cliffs
the
are
textures,
amazing.
man.
There
Come
are
on.
cliffs and
There's
caves that even look amazing.
Yeah, there are a lot of clips in this game. I
I
bet you're in awe.
that this game has not. It's got solid cliffs. It's got solid cliffs. But I'm
I
specifically
think it's a
talking about the
good-looking
Fallen
game. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
I do, as a PC Master Race guy, I really wish I was playing this on PC.
stuff. Sure.
But
Sure.
I do think the PS5 looks fine. I do like that there's two options. Let me state this, because I said this with Redfall. Redfall was, to me, unacceptable. It was native 4K, 30 frames per second. I felt like it was just too clunky, like it was jerky with the controls. It was really hard to aim because you had to be precise. you're not getting that with this game. So I'm playing graphics mode because when I switch it to 60, this is just my TV, and I'm gonna try again if I can get it to work on my OLED, and maybe it'll be different. But on my big TV, there was a lot of times where the lighting would like flicker, and I was like, well, this is more annoying than the motion blur that I find annoying on the 30 frames per second. So I really do hope if they're going to do anything that they'll at least patch an option for me to get rid of the motion blur. I really want that to go bye-bye.
Working on that, I believe, so.
I thought it was going to be in the day one patch. I thought that was part of it. So that's why I was like, why is this not an option? But other than that, I think it looks good. Like, it's a good looking game. I appreciate them going.
What's that?
Yeah, I appreciate them going more linear because, don't get me wrong, I love my open world games and I absolutely love Final Fantasy 15. But I appreciate this because I think they can do more aesthetically. Because you got to remember, this is a PS5 only game. So it's not last gen, and so they are trying to do more. They are demanding more of graphics. So I think kind of making it a little bit smaller made it, I think, not just a prettier game, but it makes it feel more real. So I think it has more impact with the story. Like, the characters are more detailed, the world is more detailed, and I think they could focus more on, like, the biggest complaint with Final Fantasy 15 was like, what story are you trying to tell me, and why is it bad?
It was very unfocused. 15.
Yes.
And this game is very focused.
And this game's like the complete opposite, where it's like, we are not going to let you get sidetracked at all. We're going to tell a story, and you're going to sit down and you're going to listen and watch it. So I appreciate it.
OSP literally, and he wasn't meaning, and of course people, took it out of turn, but like, he literally brought up 15 as like, listen, we know that you guys like had complaints about the, lack of focus with 15. So like, he literally pointed that. Yes, please be excited about the focus in 16. Like, he actually pointed out, he's like, listen, we know, like, there was an anime, there was a movie, like, there was all this. I love when
they take it to heart, and you can tell with like even 7 Remake that they were like, maybe we can do this again with a new game. Like, maybe we can do this type of linearity. And
because like 7 and 16 are kindred spirits in terms of their linearity and stuff like that. Absolutely.
And cinematic,
but with the ability to go back and re-experience and explore if you want to. You can go back to the same area. It's just they don't give you a ton of like forked paths to like choose. I'll go right this time, and there's a ton I'm missing out on. I don't really get that feeling, and I like
nothing like that.
As the game's progressing, though, like area. I'm really not meaning this as a joke, guys. A little Dragon Age, all right? A little bit Dragon Age-y, all right? You have the kind of the thinner sections with some sort of open areas back to thinner sections, interconnecting with this other section. It has that, so it has that going.
And later on in the game, you revisit places in it, and there's like, oh, we can go here now in this area. Oh, cool! So and then it opens up way more, turns into.
There's a lot of similarities. And I wasn't going to bring it up because it's a joke now, but there's a lot of similarities to Dragon Age. Like, not just the setting, but like even like the maturity, all the conflict. Like, there's a lot of gore.
There's even some disturbing stuff with kids.
There's a lot of darkness. There's a lot of demonic stuff. This is a lot of like.
You get in a fight, and then a cutscene happens, and there's just like little droplets of blood like all over the character models, like, and they're just
like
talking.
They're just talking like it's normal.
Yeah, like, it's like, oh, okay.
So rad.
Out of principle, I'm going to say no to all of that, but...
Did you guys do the side quest where you get to make a little girl feel bad yet? Those of you that are further ahead? No, you haven't done that yet? Okay.
No. That sounds great.
Awesome.
I love that as a quest.
Yeah. Oh yeah, no, I did. Though. Yeah. The one with like the snooty nobleman.
She's that like, area. I lost my pet, and then you find out what's actually happening, and then you get to make her feel bad.
You got 2 back-to-back ones where you're like, these people are awful, but the second mission I did, the second child. Yeah, I totally made it feel. I gave a child an existential crisis. Right,
so one you give a turn talking to, and the other one is like, the other one has something horrible happen to them that they did to themselves. So you kind of like go, well, that's what happens.
Well,
that's.
So I like the side quests. I was going to say this earlier. I like the side quests only because they're like quick and easy.
They're quick and easy, and they do usually tell some sort of story, even though it is kind of like.
I'm hoping
walk this
they
way, press X,
do
walk that way,
branch out and get a little bit more deeper, where it's like, hey, we want you to do the side quest. It's optional, but here's a great.
I'm
not
super
only
stoked to hear
award,
about these like hunts,
but
'cause,
story,
Like, that's
too.
what
Yeah.
I'm gonna focus hard.
There's
on
actually
those.
one of the, I think they
I
call them
love
notorious hunts or whatever. There's one that's actually intrinsically tied to a side quest, so you have to go do it anyway. And I think you fight a
probably to
griffin or something.
introduce it.
Yeah, exactly, to introduce it. Even though I already did one by that point. Actually, I did one by that point because it was like a main quest, and it was like go, like I think spread somebody's ashes or something. But on the way there was like a big monster there, and I was like, oh, you look like a boss, huh? This is interesting. And I had to fight that, and then that unlocks the whole idea of doing like a hunt board.
I really appreciate that the design of some of these. So like early on, when you see the like in the beginning, which was in the demo, like those goblins that you fight in that swampy area is like literally ripped out of like I think even Final Fantasy 1. Like it's literally like they're paying like this like homage to like the earlier simpler designs with some of these enemies. It's like there's all these little things sprinkled throughout this game. Like the Moogle, for example, like in the hideout, he's just all squishy and like just sitting there looking all everything.
You get more
Yeah,
interactions
he
with him.
fits with the tone of the game.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
You gotta have
Did you
moves,
go
man. It's a Final
slit that
Fantasy
kid's
game. You gotta
throat?
have them.
Yeah.
You know,
chocobos.
they do make the chocobos look more like raptor-like as opposed to like a
Yes,
silly
yeah.
ostrich.
I
So
like
they
that
look
you can
cooler.
kill chocobos. So
Yeah,
that's
some of
good.
them
Yeah,
are,
I was actually
that feels
horrified
bad,
that you
and
could
then
do
if
that.
you
Yeah,
attack
What?
them,
You can kill
murdering innocent
chocobos?
chocobos.
Yeah.
That feels bad, dude. It
I
feels
didn't know
it
you
does
could do
feel
that.
bad.
That's awful.
But
They're
that's-
labeled wild, so they're not tamed, so you can feel less bad about it. Yeah.
So
Oh,
that
I feel awful. Yeah.
of Tactics, Tim. You played Final Fantasy Tactics, right?
I did,
You
yeah.
could fight chocobos and Tactics. So
That's
I
right.
think that's almost like an homage to Tactics. It's like, oh
Well,
yeah,
and just even the story being like crystal
fair, they're
focused,
trying to kill
you know,
you, but
like
yeah.
the story
Yeah.
is about like the crystals and stuff like that. Like, that's super original Final Fantasy,
exactly,
you know, like
exactly. Like there's a lot of that going on where
there's
they
a lot
were
of
like,
legacy stuff going on.
But
for sure.
guys, it's not turn-based, so it's still
Therefore,
2
it
out
hasn't
of
been
10.
turn-based
It's still
yeah.
2
in
out of
like-
10
in
for
like
me.
14 games it hasn't been turn-based. So I don't. That's what's so
turn-based.
funny to me about like people are like, well, I'm just mad it's not turn-based. I'm like, it hasn't been in a long time.
Was 13 the last turn-based one?
Yeah, and that was after
12
That was
a
wasn't.
couple
Still
entry
like
break. Yeah,
12
12
wasn't
wasn't,
turn-based.
11 wasn't, you know.
But 10 was. So it was like
10
10 and
was.
13 were the last two mainline.
But even
Yeah.
13, like, yes, it's technically turn-based, but it was more like Coder, where it was like a time system where it auto.
well, it's
You
18
auto
bit
hit.
active time, it's active
Yes.
turn. So which 12 technically was. It was just more. It had sort of like this outer layer of an MMO, like the MMOs.
Yeah, it's the
the
Yeah.
same
bones of
thing.
an
Like
MMO.
you automatically hit, or you could tell it to do something else, but it's automatically doing something.
Yeah.
So 10 was really the last pure turn-based
Yeah.
one,
Dude,
right?
10,
So,
10
and
is
guess
like-
what? That was like 15 years ago. People need to get over it. You know?
I think it's
So
longer,
wild.
man.
I think it's
that was
Or
like
20, 20, I don't know.
Like
yeah.
22 years
It's
ago.
probably
Probably
old
20,
now.
yeah, no,
Yeah.
because I was like 15 when I played that
I
game.
think it was
It was
yeah.
a PS2. It was a
Hold on.
PS2 game, and I remember playing it while I was married. So I was married in
Yeah,
2004.
2001.
So
2001.
all
So-
right, there you go.
Wow.
Wow.
Old people
so-
up in this
Yeah.
podcast.
Is there, so as far as character, because I mean we don't have to dive into super details of the story, but I mean that's one of my favorite things about these games, and that was one of my main gripes with 13 and 15. So far with this game, there's definitely a lot of intrigue going on. That demo was obviously incredibly like all right, you got me, like you threw some stuff at me that I'm like,
Sure
oh
did.
damn, 2 hours
the
in this.
trauma. Oh, the
Yeah,
trauma.
the trauma.
So much trauma.
So much
Post-
trauma.
Yeah,
Hey,
I
can
called,
we just say
called
that-
Clive the poster child for PTSD. Because
Yeah,
he's always like,
yeah.
oh, what happened?
I also
What
love
happened to my
seeing.
brother?
I love seeing the character of Sid being important in a Final Fantasy game because he's not
Love
always.
Sid.
Yes. Oh my God, Tim.
'Cause
His
some-
voice.
Best
sometimes-
voice actor ever.
Sometimes Sid is
Borat,
just a
yeah.
side character who's
There's
just
always a
throwaway.
Sid, but he's not
There's
always
always a
important.
Sid.
Yeah.
And sometimes he's like a playable character. I think is it 7
Yeah.
where he's a
7
playable.
is
yeah.
playable.
Playable.
Yeah.
But there's some of them where he's important but not playable, and there's other ones where he's literally just an NPC that you happen to talk to, like, oh, there's the Sid for this game, and then he's gone.
Yeah,
Like it
right.
just depends on the game. And this one, not only is he insanely important to the
Sidalphus.
story, but like
Sidalphus,
he's got,
yeah.
I think, the best voice actor of the whole
His-
crew.
his-
Yeah, dude.
acting
What
is
what a
so
star
good.
this guy is, man.
That guy is awesome.
I just,
maybe-
it's so fun. Like I
Maybe not
said,
the
I
acting, maybe it's just the voice tone. I just
I
love
got
that
from,
guy.
I got from
It's
like
the
I
tone.
got from like 80 hours of Diablo where this guy is like the narrator of the story, and then I play Final Fantasy.
Oh,
Yeah.
and
is
I
it the
can't
same?
get enough of this
It's
guy.
the same
It's
guy.
the same
Yeah.
guy. It's
Yeah.
Laura.
I didn't even put 2 and 2 together. Like, yeah, that makes sense.
He's great.
Dude,
He
it's
has a
just-
very
man.
distinctive voice.
Yeah.
He
Yeah.
has a very It's another very. I'm not saying he can't do other stuff. I know he has done other stuff, but he's perfect to me for like games.
He's got a voice for
Perfect for
radio.
games.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's got a face for video games. Is that what you're saying?
Go watch
The only
Witch
other
and
thing
make
I was
that
going to
judgment
mention, I
yourself,
know
yeah.
we were talking about the visuals. I agree with you that it's a good-looking game, especially when light's coming through the forest trees and stuff. There's certain moments that I was like, this looks
Vista
great.
shots are pretty nice. Yeah.
But when I'm in the cutscenes and it's so detailed and the mouths are so matched up well with the dialogue and it's so good, and then you go to an in-game dialogue moment where the mouths are like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and then the voice is
There's
not even
still
close to
some
matched up.
gamey stuff.
There's
in
some
the
gamey
actual
stuff
game.
that like I do notice that, and I'm just like, hey, that part didn't
I
feel
haven't noticed that.
I
like when
have.
you're in
Like,
a
even
normal
Especially
Yeah.
like NPC characters where
any
it's
of
just
your
like
conversations with in-game NPCs, they just kind of their mouths.
Well,
just kind of,
that's weird though, because so in this case, and people were kind of like, well, that's weird because it's a Japanese company, but they actually with the translation and as far as the mocap and the mouthing, like they actually went like from the American direction, like English direction, not Japanese, and then translating it.
Yeah, and
the
it
other.
shows in the main
no, I'm
main
saying
cutscenes,
the
but-
mocap is very clear in the main cutscenes when the story
Yeah, yeah.
moments are happening. No doubt about it. It's gorgeous, and I love it. I could watch several movies or seasons of a TV show that looks like this. It's when you're in the game and sometimes it's a serious moment and someone's chatting, and I'm like, well, that doesn't quite match up. That's okay. It doesn't like make me hate the game or something.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
just the one visual thing that I'm like, it's not quite. I only say that because if you play some of Sony's biggest games, especially all the stuff from Naughty Dog, you play Horizon, you play God of War, and it doesn't even matter if you're walking through an area talking to someone. If you happen to turn the camera and see the character, their mouth is still somehow matched up with the dialogue. And I don't know how they do it. I don't, but it just makes it more believable. There's just that little bit of believability that adds to it.
Totally.
I think
That's all.
I think that's unfortunately, yeah, like that going from a Japanese to a game that is being ultimately translated to English. I think that's just always been the case. It's
I've
like-
actually, I was guessing that was my theory in our chat was like, well, maybe those particular
Those
they're not
just weren't
they're not
mocaps.
actual cutscenes, but
Yeah.
they're like mini cut whatever you want to call them. But I was like, maybe they just had them in Japanese
Well,
and
like
then just dubbed them.
in-game cutscenes or in-game
Yeah, but
dialogue.
like in game in between moments between action, I guess. But yeah, I was like, maybe it was just actually they actually did it in Japanese and just did the dub on top of it, and they were like, it's close enough. You know, like and in the video game, you can't really tell most of the time. So I mean,
that's just me trying to be fair to like the game is so
Yeah.
amazing. It's instant classic in my opinion, and
Yes.
I'm way earlier in the game than any of you, and I'm already like, I don't know how I'm going to pick a favorite game for this year. There's so many that I'm absolutely in love
Yeah.
with, and I'm in love with this game as well. I thought the same about Resident Evil 4, and of course about Zelda and about Star Wars. Like, there's too many. I don't know what to do. But anyway,
I thought this game had a shot for my game of the year until I read this review, which gave it a 0, and he said this game is not good and not bad. Honestly, it's just okay. But he gave it a 0.
he gave it a 0.
Nice review bomb, buddy.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
well, we've all
This
turned
game
around on
is
this
not
now.
good.
It's
It is
trash.
just okay, but it's a 0.
Bro.
I
So
wanna
Some
read
of these
some of the-
user reviews are absolutely terrible. They're like,
I wanna-
just press square to win. Just press
I want
square.
to read a few
square to
comments
win.
from folks in our group because Derek asked this question in the group. What do you guys think? So just a couple quotes from them, and then I'll ask you guys for any wrap-up thoughts on this before we move on. We'll talk about this game more in the coming weeks as well. So don't worry. If you got something else to add in, you'll have a second. But just from the group, so Ryan, I don't know how you say your last name, Ryan. Is it Kraft?
I think it's crap.
He says he loves the combat mechanics, but he's not a huge fan of the linear maps. He would love for enemies to respawn too, so like that he could have some kind of farming component to leveling up and stuff.
They do.
They do.
They
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 do.
do.
That maybe he's like me, he's not as far in the
He's
game. 'cause I haven't
super
seen it.
early. But
Yeah.
no, even in the early
That's not
parts, you
super
just
early.
leave. No, I'm saying
They respawn. He's just I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know what he's doing. When you teleport out of an area
Oh,
and back in,
I
everything-
see.
they're there.
Actually, I think he just meant like the world's open enough that they'll respawn while you're in that area. It's probably what he said, but-
So you can just sit
Whatever.
in
Oh,
an area
like
and
in
camp an
Diablo or
enemy.
something? Nah.
Yeah.
Not so much.
Fab, our buddy Fab, he says he's
He hates
9
it.
to 10 hours in and he's loving the character's combat set pieces, and he likes
only
the
because it's on
linearity.
PlayStation. If it was on
Only 'cause
Xbox,
it's on
it'd be 0.
PlayStation.
Whatever.
Yeah.
He likes Final Fantasy. Give him
Hit
a
square to
break.
win. Hit square
He
to
likes
If
win.
it were Phone
likes-
Stars, he'd be singing its praises.
Chuck Carroll says it's the dark, mature
kidding.
Final Fantasy game he's been waiting for, and I think a lot of people
Yeah.
agree with him there.
Yeah.
And let's see, there's a few others. Dan Phillips, not this Dan.
he
He's
just
pretty
start?
early on. He just
Yeah.
started it, And he wasn't actually planning on buying it, but I think he's really getting hooked on it. He said he's almost to the end of that demo section of it, that kind of opening couple hours, and he's just like, "This is great so far."
Yeah, if you're not hooked after that demo, then I don't know, man.
I know.
Daniel,
I had to play it immediately because of that demo. Honestly, I was like,
Daniel,
I
one of
need
your
this
Final
now.
Fantasy buddies, Mark Allen, he's about 10 hours in, and he says, "I can't speak to the full product, but if it continues as strong as it is, it'll definitely be one of my favorite Final Fantasy games.
I
Character
think
and
if you
world."
feel that way about the first
Really.
10 hours, you're gonna feel that way at the end.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's
Boy.
consistent. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. So yeah, I think it's fair to say that for the most part, folks who are actually playing it, not folks who just want to review bomb it, people who are actually playing
It's not bad. It's not good. It's just
It's just
okay.
okay.
Zero.
It's just okay.
But
Zero.
but zero.
It's
That
an
number
okay
system
zero.
hard at work there.
It's an okay
Zero
zero.
out of
On the
10.
0 to 1 scale, it's a 0.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Zero.
It's like when folks say something is totally average, and in my head I'm going, that should be a 5, maybe a 6 if
That's
it's average, right?
same,
And they
yeah.
still
And
give
then
it like
goes
an
7,
8.
7.5. Yeah,
I'm
and
like,
you're like,
That's not
isn't
average.
8 great? It rhymes. That's
Yeah,
how I
This
know
is
it's
true.
true.
Well, that's why
That's
scoring
what I
sometimes
learned.
it's nonsense, because people
Well,
like
like,
demand 90s.
Yeah.
and
Game
they don't-
Informer usually like scores most games high. And I'm not saying they do this, but they are tied to GameStop, so the higher the score, the more interesting it is for people to go buy it. But they gave it an 8.5, which again, still a high score, but I was
score.
actually surprised when I was seeing everybody else scoring it. And then I read a bunch of the comments. They're like, this guy overly praises this game. He literally says that this game, Final Fantasy XVI, has 2 of his most epic moments he's ever experienced in all of video games. So not just Final Fantasy, but
Sure.
he lowered the score because there's only white people in it.
Oh
no way.
Wait, did he
Wow.
actually put that in the review, or he actually?
That's what they were saying, is that he was docking
okay,
it
those are the
because he
comments,
does
okay.
get into the whole thing about like they needed to have more
Representation.
representation.
Yeah.
I mean, again, they literally specified why, and I get it. It's not like there isn't room to like kind of
Just write them in, Dan. Write them in.
But
Write 'em
it's
in.
like they specifically said they were basing it off of a specific time in Europe where everything's closed off and everything's very like inbred and like it's a lot
Very
of just
white.
So like that's what
Very
they
white.
use as inspiration. So like they at least gave a reason.
Again, these are
yeah.
made by Asian.
Yeah, I was
men,
gonna
like-
say I don't know where Japan is on their like social justice mission,
Yeah,
but like
sure.
it's weird to project like our country
Yeah,
onto
it's a very
theirs
American
into-
complaint.
But
yeah.
my
it's
point
very
is, it's
American.
not
People
like
wrote
they're
articles
only
about how
writing in
Argentina-
their characters. Like, hey, we're Asian, so we only do Asian games. Like, they're not doing that. They're actually putting in a race that's not really theirs. So
It's just like
they
the article
are
was written
doing
criticizing
something
the
good.
Argentina men's soccer team for not having enough players of color. And I'm like, have you been to Argentina? It's like the
Have you
whitest
been to
country
Argentina?
in South America by a lot.
They're,
I just-
they're the whitest
Like-
tan people.
I think for me personally, I think ultimately it's like I get it if that's what your opinion is, that's fine.
Yeah.
But let's have a little perspective of like not everything is because it isn't doing what you want it to do, then it's automatically the bad thing. Like just because they didn't put people of color in here doesn't mean they're automatically racist. And they specified what they're were using as a reference. So
Well, I
I
was
think it's
upset
okay
that
to bring up
Moana
as
had
like a
no
talking
white people
point,
in it.
but
I was
like
like,
I wouldn't deduct
Yes.
score, from it. I think that's kind of
Yeah.
silly. But bringing it up, I think is totally healthy and totally fine. Like, hey, I just noticed this, but like going out of your way to deduct a score because of it seems wild. To me.
Listen,
seems
I've
unprofessional
said this
to me.
before.
Unprofessional.
It's
Yeah.
Very
everybody likes
unprofessional.
to protect everybody's opinions and feelings, but if an opinion is based off of false information, an opinion can be wrong. So I do have a problem when people are like writing these stupid user reviews or even professional reviews where they're not educated on the topic, yet they're stating their opinion, and their
Yeah.
opinion is actually wrong.
It's rooted
It
in
should be
wrongness.
called
yeah.
out.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's that's one of my biggest complaints about movie folks on like Twitter and stuff too. I'm like, you're coming at this from the wrong angle, dude. Your opinion
Yeah.
is rooted in wrongness, and it wows me up, and then I just go, never
rooted in wrongness.
I don't even want to talk to you. I can't do it.
I mean,
You're bathing
honestly,
in
if-
wrongness.
if you create a fantasy world and you decide, in order for this to feel like a real medieval place in this time and place, you decide to make it a certain way. Like I don't see why I would criticize, hey, you should have made it a different way, any more than I would criticize, like, oh, you're going to tell me there was no white people living in the Pacific during the Moana movie? None. You can't put one white person in your Moana movie. Like, that doesn't make any sense. Why would I criticize that? Like, I don't
It's a
know.
weird way to go at it. man.
It's a weird way to
It's for me. It's the equivalent of like getting mad about a mermaid being black, and I'm like, guys, those don't exist. Like, this is a world where magic
Mermaids aren't
exists.
real.
Mermaids
Yeah,
don't
yeah.
exist.
Yeah,
This is a
mermaids
world where
aren't
magic
real.
exists, and there's
Yeah.
like titans. It's fine. We're okay. We're gonna
Yeah,
be fine.
they turn into monsters. You
Yeah.
know, like it's a kaiju game. You know, let's get real.
Right.
Like
I love kaijus.
let's stop like bringing in all the weird stuff into it. But
The only
I
rational
get it. That's
argument,
like that's the era that we're in. So
The only
that
rational
kind of
argument I
Talking
heard
points,
with
it gets
stuff like
clicks.
the Little
it
Mermaid
does.
thing, the only rational argument I heard from that was, well, if anyone's mad about it, they're an idiot. If they're mad about the race of the person being cast, that's stupid. But you can't get mad if people don't feel as nostalgic when all the characters they're used to seeing don't look like the characters they saw growing up. So they might not feel as nostalgic or as likely to go see it. So like, I think from a marketing
Yeah, but-
perspective, that's got some. I think it's got
I
some meat
mean,
on the bone there.
Kids were
Just
our
for-
age.
just for
I mean, those it would have been like our generation growing up with that movie. And by the point that the live action movie comes out, why are you watching that movie? Because you're an adult.
I know.
We
I
should. Movie's not for you.
No, that's what I'm saying. Like,
But
well,
I'm not
true,
saying
but,
that
like-
parents didn't show their kids that movie in like 2012. And I'm not saying that the movie stopped existing for parents, but I'm just I'm
I was
Nobody
saying
cares
that
about
most
the
of our
mermaid.
generation-
Nobody on this
see Aladdin.
podcast cares about the little.
No, I'm not going to see it.
I was excited to see the Aladdin because I loved the Aladdin cartoon as a kid. So for me, it was like, I'll watch this with my kids primarily. I'm not going to watch it alone, but I'll watch it with them. But I'm also interested in seeing it because I loved that movie growing up.
Dude,
And I
yes.
just loved the way that it kind of looked and felt somehow still like the cartoon I grew up. I'm not saying it was
Yeah.
perfect, but it had
it had a similar vibe. I thought it captured a real similar vibe.
captured some of the spirit of it. So I liked that a lot about it. So that's all I'm saying is that
Ribbity ribbity rap, I'm a genie.
that part
Can't
was
see
really
me.
good. That
Sorry.
part.
Yeah.
Good.
All right, we really need to move on.
Yeah, big time.
Welcome to my-
Final thoughts of.
Who brought it up? Who brought
final-
I mean, overall, for me, my final
I made the comparison.
thoughts
That was me.
is I'm probably a third through. There's only been maybe one play session where I was like, okay, where's this game going? This doesn't feel very Final Fantasy. But as I pressed through the game, I was like, man, it really is just that good. And the combat is getting better. Like, I'm not saying it was bad. That's not what I'm saying. It just keeps getting better, especially as I get even more familiar with it. And the way they're adding on things with the combat is they're doing it gradually enough that it makes you feel like, hey, this could feel fresh for the next 35 to 40 hours. Where they don't just give you everything up front and then add a few extra, like, well, you get more powerful and you fight more powerful enemies. Like, they're literally changing the way you play the game. And then as far as story goes, I've already gone through some big reveals that I really thought were really well done. They were done very dramatically, and I thought it was well done. And I'm very, like, the main character, I'm not spoiling it, he literally asked questions in one of the scenes. Like, he asked multiple questions, and I'm like, yeah, those are the questions I have. So I want to know these answers. So that gives me, and I've said this before about many, many games, if you want to hook me on a story, give me something to question. Give me something that I need answers to, and I think this game's doing that.
Yeah.
It's got its hooks.
I think, obviously humans have created many stories in the existence of humanity. So it's like, yeah, coming up with something completely brand spanking, it's like probably not going to happen, right? Like basically, like maybe, but maybe not. But it's about the way that you tell the story. It's about how the characters are written or how they're portrayed, or in this case, like an actual person acting out the lines and the moments and how they're showing their, when Clive is screaming at a certain part, how he's going to enact his revenge because of something. Like, it's like you felt that moment because the way that voice actor, which he's phenomenal, by the way. Like,
I was going to
Clive
say, he's really good.
Yeah, like he's
Has
so
he
good.
been in other games?
Sometimes he sounds like Jason Statham to me, but like in a good way. It's kind of wow. So you'll hear it sometimes. We'll be like, I don't know what's going on around here, and I'm like, oh, Jason Statham came out to play. Okay.
Hey, listen, he's the transporter. All right, transporter is great. But yeah, it's just everything, and it feels so mature. Like to me, this is the most Final Fantasy since like 9. If you want to like really like, this is what I don't understand. People are saying, not my Final Fantasy. This doesn't feel like a Final Fantasy. It's like, have you freaking played this game yet? Like it's literally medieval fantasy. That is the origin of this series is literally this. So like, I don't understand what you people are talking about. Like they're checking off all the boxes of.
What do you mean, you people?
Yeah, what do you mean?
yeah.
Well,
Hold on a minute, dude.
that's called an assumption, brother.
Look at it.
Nice.
Assumption, brother. Yeah, I'm sorry, but this is the most Final Fantasy game in many years. The voice acting is phenomenal. The like Derek was saying, like the intrigue is there. Like characters act normal. They ask questions at appropriate moments, and they respond to like other people in appropriate ways, and things feel very real and very lived in. Like with the whole classism thing, and like all kind of like those people being ignorant, and how like you react as Clive and everything, and like I don't know, it's amazing, it's fantastic, it's very good, it's very good.
Yeah, I agree
He's
with
not
everything
like
you all
a
said.
major actor. I don't think he's ever done a video game before. I think the biggest thing he's done is Jamestown.
Okay.
But I really think he's somebody that if I was making a video game, I would start looking at him.
He's gonna be making a lot of money after this.
I did see something mentioned. I didn't like read into it too much. I don't know the details, but during all of like the work of him doing for Clive, like his father passed away. So he said like he used a lot of like kind of that emotion, and
a lot's
like,
asked out of him. So yeah,
and it apparently really helped him
too.
too. Yeah, it like really helped him like get through that too, to kind of like feed that like kind of pain into the role, and like so come out of it the other end. So that's like there's a lot going on there for that guy. So
the authenticity shows.
Yeah.
I agree with everything both you guys said. Kyle or Jeff, any other things you want to throw out there about
I
it?
love it.
Not much I can add beyond that. I thought that everyone's touched on all the
kaiju. You said kaiju earlier. We didn't even really mention like the epicness of like.
There are some scenes where I don't want to go into details just in case, because I'm still kind of fuzzy on where everyone is. But like when you meet the like Emperor's son, and then you meet like an opposing force that's like attacking, it's pretty early in the game, and it's just like I remember just a couple weeks ago. I go, boy, Diablo 4 has got some of the best cutscenes, if not the best this year, but if not the best ever. And then Final Fantasy, of course, shows up, and they're like, we've been doing this a long time too, and really shows up with some really amazingly epic moments that are just.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. I know what you're talking about. Yeah,
there's a kaiju fight with like dubstep and classical music battling each other in the store.
Dude, Soken is
the music in this is actually what makes me feel like I'm playing a Final Fantasy game.
During that fight, you actually get. Is there dubstep in Final Fantasy? That's kind of crazy to me. But during that fight, you actually get a little more abilities with your icon in full form or whatever, and that like feels amazing. Like I'm like. What? This is so cool. I'm like gliding and like, oh my god.
Soken, the composer of 14, like, and again, that's an MMO, so it's been many years, many expansions. Like apparently he likes to toy around with a lot of the songs. So in 14, you get a lot of like weird things that are outside orchestral and things like that.
There's some that are like straight up metal tracks, and you're like, Jesus, this is hard.
This is very Final Fantasy 14. I remember the music being really experimental, and there's just a lot of really epic, like appropriate timed choir, cue-ins. Or just like suddenly this epic choir is like playing beyond all the chaos that's going on.
Tracks in like the cities.
A lot of simple piano tracks.
Makes me feel like
classic stuff, man.
Fantasy.
That's classic Final Fantasy, just having like good homey town tunes, So
there's an early boss fight before you unlock your second set of magic abilities, where it's actually surprisingly sweet and sad piano music throughout that whole fight. And for a reason, like it works with the story. It's all just kind of like, oh, this is. Like, I don't know, because they do a good job of making you actually see that character's point of view at least a little bit too before stuff happens. So, I found that to be kind of as you're going like multiple phases of this fight. I was like, is the music sad right now? Because I feel sad. The music's a little sad.
You gotta love Final Fantasy with their boss fights. Like they just like keep going. They're like,
I know.
No, you're not done yet.
This is phase one.
Yeah.
There's another one. Yep.
Even the demo did that. You fight the big troll in the demo, and then all of a sudden you get the Marlboro thing coming out from the ground.
Marlboro.
I
was gonna compliment actually the fact that I'm pretty deep in like I'm in the third act, maybe somewhere at the beginning of the third act. And I'm still like going, okay, so there's like no villain, and I think they did that deliberately. There's no like Sephiroth that you're like, oh, this villain is, because
Who
it's
comes
not
walking
about
through the fire at
it's
you?
not about the.
I want to say
bad
something so
guys.
bad right now.
It's
I want
not.
to say
It's
something.
not.
Do it.
It's about how humans, I don't know, crave so much power with the resources that the
Yeah.
world gives them and stuff.
It's the
about
whole crystal thing. It's the crystal.
Yeah, exactly. It's how it's
Which again is like the core of the series.
Yeah.
It's literally like
and it
Is
corrupts
that-
people in different ways.
not
Is
my
that a little
Final
bit how you
Fantasy.
guys? Is that how you guys see Game of Thrones a little bit too, where there are villainous characters, but there's
Yeah.
not really a main villain, right?
Yeah,
Some deplorable
yeah.
people doing deplorable things, but it's
Well,
all
I get when you're
power
going through a
sources,
chapter, there's
you know?
usually like a bad guy of that chapter, and that feels like a seasoned bad guy of Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
Like,
There
hey,
you go.
he's gonna be
Okay.
he or she is running amok right now, you know.
Yeah.
But they're not
So-
usually the thing that's hovering over everyone. There's like just
Yeah.
kind of this sense of dread
For
that they're
now,
trying to survive.
I've caught a name of a quote unquote main bad guy, but they're not a presence the way that like Sephiroth. That's the only other game I have to compare it to. Sorry,
Yeah, no,
but
it's a
like
fair
Sephiroth
comparison.
is, you know, like so there is an evil entity that you're going to see
Which
around. and
Sephiroth
stuff,
is only
but-
like that in the remake, just FYI. He's
Oh,
not
okay,
like that
okay.
at all in the original
you know,
game.
Jack-
Yeah, I was gonna
into it.
say all other Final Fantasy games have kind of been. They don't have like this looming like
Sometimes they do.
menacing.
Sometimes there's like Seymour
Like
is the
Kefka.
main bad guy of Final Fantasy X, but there are bigger things going on
yeah.
Yeah.
than Seymour.
But
in
there's
10,
also
you know?
Kefka in 6. Like Kefka is
Yeah.
a consistent
Yeah,
presence.
Kefka's there and like kind of
Um,
jokering his way through that game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then in
Jokering.
9 you have
Literally,
yeah.
Kuja. You have Kuja in 9, but then like at the very end, and I don't, in case Jeff ever like decides to play some of the older ones, it's like suddenly something gets thrown at you. You're like,
Right.
you're doing
Same
that
thing-
typical JRPG bullshit. Like,
Yeah, you
Same thing
are.
with the Time Witch in 8. You know, like she's the
Yes.
bad guy,
Right.
but as you get
yeah.
further into it, you're like, oh, there's
Yeah.
bigger things going on.
Yeah,
The
yeah.
bad guys
You-
change. Like you discover there's always a man behind the curtain.
Yeah, yeah,
And there's
exactly.
another man behind the curtain, and there's another man behind the curtain. So like, it's
And
always
this
going to
one,
evolve.
this
in
one being a
game.
Game
I
of
love
Thrones
that about this
format
game.
feels really well because like they're very like colorful like warlords with like, oh, he's that guy. Like you, there's not mistake. They don't all look the same. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
All the warlords that you kind of face are
And they all have different
unique
philosophies
looking.
that shape their style, the way they dress, the way they
Yeah.
carry themselves. So like the religious folks and stuff are very obviously like you know who they are when you see them. And like the big guy Hugo, you know exactly what his deal is. You know exactly what his deal is, especially later on in the game.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's.
I will say
I just
that
love this game so much, dude.
the
It's so
character
good.
of Benedicta, who's one of the early on kind of villainous characters you face
Benedicta,
against,
like I said,
she reminded me a lot of there's a character from Final Fantasy IX, just like the way her face looks and then her way her
Oh,
voice sounded.
Oh
She's
yeah,
like
you're right. Yeah.
Freya, I think. Is it Freya?
Freya, yeah. Well,
Yeah.
Freya's the one with like there's that race where they have the thin legs and they kind of
Yeah,
have like,
but
it's
like her face and her voice
Yeah,
just reminded me of her for some reason. Like there's some.
I feel
similar-
like
similar
she-
haircut and stuff.
I think when I was playing Final Fantasy 12 this year, I feel like there was a character in there that looked like her.
yeah,
Mm.
I think there's some
Because
design.
She-
she's
Just copy and
very,
paste it.
she very
Crazy.
much
Yeah, that's all
looks
they're
like
Reused
doing.
assets,
Final
2 out of 10. 2 out of 10.
Yeah, 2 out of 10.
Not my Final Fantasy.
Well, guys, the other big game that came out this week is Crash Team Rumble. Dan, come back. Dan. No, Dan, come on. Dan, come back.
Yeah, we've got a lot to say about this one.
Oh yeah, I platinumed it.
Has
Before
anybody
Gaston
played
did, I
it?
platinumed it. Yeah.
All right, so the only
no,
thing we can
no.
say about it is what Gaston said about it, and because he's our loyal buddy, we're going to read his thoughts on this real quick.
Oh, I love this. Yeah, great.
So Gaston said it's a great multiplayer game for only $30. I didn't realize it was cheaper, by the way. I thought it was
didn't either.
full price.
I actually thought it was free to play.
Oh, so that's worse for
Oh,
you
so
then.
even
And
worse.
Derek's
Still
like,
wondering
oh, that's
right.
cheaper than I thought. Derek's like, that's way
Dan
more
legitimately
expensive than I
left
thought.
the show. Dan is gone. And then he says he loves the competitive nature to it, how surprisingly deep it gets depending on how you play with certain characters. Has a lot of great maps. Play to earn, no in-game currency for now that they know of. You have to unlock by playing, which is great. He wishes there was voice chat in the game, which apparently there's not. But he compares it to Reverse, the multiplayer mode from Resident Evil Village, but he says it's done way better. So anyway, so there you go.
Okay.
Thanks, Gaston. There's your Crash Team Rumble stuff.
And I
was
saw
gonna say.
his scores. Looks like you're doing really good, buddy. So that's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hope you're. I know. Well, I know he's really enjoying because he popped in my stream the other day and he's just having a good time with this. So whatever makes
that's-
Gaston,
It's
awesome.
please be excited. Please,
please be excited. Yeah,
please clap.
he is.
please clap.
Yeah.
I love it.
He has
God.
like he has like most
The
of
way
the
he drops
trophies
his
too.
arms and goes, please
Yeah,
stop.
he's.
No,
I
it's
think he's
just so
close to
defeated.
platinum.
Please
Yeah.
clap.
Yeah. Please,
My
Clay.
favorite thing. My favorite thing. All right, let's go through some news, and then we'll close things out in the news section before we talk about other things we're playing and watching with Nintendo Direct. We'll go through those things. That was a pretty exciting Direct
dude.
this past week.
Yeah.
Wow.
So many things
Yeah.
to talk about there, but we'll
There
we'll
was
do that
nothing exciting that they announced at all.
Oh,
There-
no, not at
Typical
all.
Nintendo bullshit.
I
It
like how
wasn't
he
good,
barely
it
got through
wasn't
that
bad.
statement because it's so false. That's
0 out of 10. Not good, not bad. Next wave of Game Pass games is announced. Some of them are already out, like Need for Speed Unbound is now on Game Pass. It's joined by The Bookwalker, which I actually tried a little bit of. It's
too.
really interesting, but it was really glitching out in my PC. I don't know what was going. Like
Huh.
my character wouldn't load in to the first book after I. You have to. Anyway, I'll talk about Bookwalker in a little bit, but that
Books
one's
for
out now.
nerds.
I played that one too. Yeah.
It's kind of interesting game. 27th, we'll get to play Bramble the Mountain King
Go play it. It's awesome.
this week. I'm excited to try that one out.
And
And
how-
as well as Fist Forged in Shadow Torch, which is a
That
kind of
game's
a
fun.
it's a pretty stylish side-scrolling action game if you like.
Yeah, that's a fun game.
And Story of Seasons, Friends of Mineral Town is being added on the 29th. And then first week of July, we'll get Arcade Paradise, which a handful of us have played and
Good.
really like.
Obsessively for a bit.
That game's
Yeah.
way fun. Yeah.
It's
And
so
then-
dumb how good that is.
So another game that someone on our show likes, that's Sword and Fairy Together Forever, hits July 5th on Game Pass. So there you go. A little bit of something for everybody. That
Too
literally is like
slow.
one of the most like dynamic list
It
of
hit,
like
it hit all the flavors. You know what
It's
I
got
mean?
every
Really did.
Yeah.
It's very diverse. It's very diverse.
Need
so
for
different.
Need for Speed
10 out of
Unbound is going to find a good audience with this because I think a lot of people held off during the time of the year that it came out.
Yeah, it's a good entry too. So
Yeah,
you know,
it's
if you
fun.
like
Really
those types
good
of
game.
arcade, racers, you can't get better than free. So
that's right.
I like. It's not free. It's not free,
It's
Kyle.
not free.
don't with me right now. Don't.
I can't even right
I
now.
hear you.
Stop it.
Don't.
You know you don't own that game, right? Fool.
Okay.
Yeah, you know when they
Why-
take it off,
we
like you
actually
lose
get into
access
that.
to
That's why
it.
I
Yeah,
don't buy
it's same thing
digital.
with Netflix. Like movies
Because I
fall off
don't
that all the
actually
time.
own it.
Yeah.
That's how it works. Yeah, we get it.
Yeah, that's how it works. Thank you for explaining how streaming works to me.
I got my
Yeah.
groceries for free today when I picked it up at the
My
grocery
gro-
store.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah, right,
Got them
right.
online, you know.
And
Yeah,
Xbox
well-
is actually going to follow up all these Game Pass games with the Indie Showcase on July 11th. So we'll get
Cool.
and demo event too. So there'll be another Indie Showcase.
Man, they love their indies, and I love them for that. So
They
awesome.
do. I think they're considering this part of the Summer Games Fest kind of string of activities and
okay.
events. that
Not
happen.
E3 never dies, Tim. It's,
I love
it's,
it.
It's a frame of
It's
mind.
an era.
Yep. I don't know if Jeff Keighley has like an official start date, yes, but an official end date to the Summer Games Fest stuff. I imagine for him, it's kind of like once we get to the Gamescom opening night live, that's when I've shifted
I think
gears out
he's
of
out.
Summer.
Yeah,
Summer
I
Games
think, but
Fest.
everybody else, even IGN, I think they just adopt like, hey, we're gonna be running exclusives all month,
Right.
and that's the
Yeah,
summer
IGN
Game
has
Fest,
their
so-
own IGN summer
gaming of
games or something
summer
like
of gaming or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, it's sad, but it's not. It's just E3 was just such a prominent thing when we were younger, and
was.
it just not existing
Yeah.
anymore. Like in general is kind of a
Kind of a
bummer,
bummer.
but like there's something
I feel
there.
the spirit of it, but
End of
Yeah,
an
it's,
era.
it's dead for sure. But I feel the
Yeah.
spirit of it still.
How can
Yeah.
it
I think there
be
actually was a
happening
headline
if it's
about-
dead?
I think there was a headline about how for 2024 and 25, it's already confirmed.
It's
not
done.
happening.
Yeah.
Yes,
E3
it's
is
dead.
over,
Yeah.
man. Yeah.
It is
Um,
not free, that's for sure.
Baten Kaitos 1 and 2 HD remaster hitting Switch on September 14th.
I'll
So-
be getting those.
In case
Yeah,
you need
that-
more for your
those look
September
fun.
slate. Those do look
I remember playing the first one. I never finished it, but it has like a card based system,
Yeah.
which was interesting.
I know people are
It's-
really bummed that the horrible dub is not going to be a part of it, but people
Uh,
forgot that game had one of the worst dubs maybe ever. So, read. Don't be a weirdo.
Yeah,
Maybe
you're going to be
read.
okay. Yeah.
Maybe read.
that's fair. That's fair. I thought this was interesting. Ubisoft, specifically their CEO Yves Guillemot, is that how you say his name? He said that they actually ignored Nintendo's advice, which was hold the next Mario & Rabbids game till our next console. Just hold it, because the current one is actually still selling, and we're gonna have a new console, and you can just launch that with that console. And they didn't. They launched it, and it actually did not hit some of their, I think, sales marks that they wanted. And also
Oh,
released at
no.
a bad time last October. Like it wasn't.
Yeah.
It just didn't have the same wave that you would have.
I
Like,
haven't
It would have made a good summer game, maybe, but
I knew it wasn't doing well because I know Ubisoft games normally drop in price, but this one has been on sale
all the time.
so many times, and
All the
it's been
time,
super low, super low.
I thought it was like 50%. One of these, or like
I
more
saw it
recent
for
ones, yeah.
$25 a couple weeks ago.
Yeah,
I should
Nintendo
adapt it.
told them.
Me too. Yeah.
Oh, I'll
Pretty
tell
much-
you next
pretty much they
time
said
if you
keep-
want it for that price.
They pretty much said keep working on it, keep building it out, and hold it for our next console. Which, by the way, there's no rumor or anticipation of one before April of next year at the very, 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 very earliest. But Nintendo has reported a slowdown in Switch console sales, which I'm sure games like Zelda, of course, are going to help boost those up. But at some point, we're at the 6-year mark. We're getting close to like, is it next year or the year after that? Like, I think
Well,
it's
there's only so
next-
many gamers. How many more consoles can you push out? You
Right.
know?
I think next year would be a good time
Like
because
next
that would
holiday,
be 7
maybe.
years, which is
Please be
pretty.
it next time. The more down the road, the better. But I'm
I'm
ready
with
for
you.
new hardware for sure.
I am too. Like, if they announce it early in 2024 and release it late 2024,
I love it.
that
Absolutely
could
love
work
it.
well.
Yeah. I can't wait for the goofy commercials of people being at parties and you want to
Sitting
play
on
the
there.
Switch too? Here's
Hey.
Becky.
I know, sitting on their rooftops.
I
and
love it. It's so
Yeah.
stupid. Like, nobody lives that life.
Like 7 people surrounding this tiny.
They're all at a park like playing Switch. I'm like, what loser friends
They
do
were
you
all
have?
up on the roof. It was all a bunch of singles on the roof drinking White Claw and playing Mario Kart.
Yeah, so silly. And everyone's playing off that small little screen. I'm like, no one's playing the
No
Switch.
one's-
Stop that. Cut that out.
Just
No one's doing
knock
this.
it off. Knock it off.
Speaking of Nintendo, Pikmin 4, and this is a rumor, I think it's the second major Nintendo game to use Unreal Engine. So this is noted by this Twitter user that these cards for Pikmin 4 have come out early in Japan, and they noticed the Unreal Engine logo on them. That doesn't mean the game is certainly using it, but it seems
So
to
it
be.
means
That
the
is the
game's
engine. I
going to
looked
be
it up.
4K at 60 frames per
Yes,
second on the
absolutely
Switch.
it is,
Sounds
yeah.
good.
Yeah, on the wiki it says Unreal Engine 5 or 4.
That's
sorry, not
awesome.
5. 5 that'd be freaking hilarious.
So
we use
I
like
Unreal
just
5
you turn
for
it on,
the
it melts your
Switch.
Switch. Yeah,
That feels like kind of a quiet thing, like Nintendo using an external engine.
that's super surprising to hear.
Pretty big deal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's cool.
It's only the second major.
Pretty
Nintendo game
excited
to
for
do
that one. It's coming
Yeah,
out in a
Pikmin
good
4.
time.
There's
too.
a demo coming.
Pikmin's good vibes,
We'll
man.
talk
It's
about
a
it, but
good-
there's a
that
demo
game's all
coming on
vibes,
Monday.
Yeah, demo hitting soon. We talked a lot about Final Fantasy 16, of course, but just wanted to emphasize again that the Devil May Cry designer, so he was the battle director for Final Fantasy 16, of course, Ryota Suzuki, he said that he believes that Final Fantasy 16 is his personal masterpiece. And this is a guy who's also worked on, of course, Devil May Cry, including 5, which I think is the best Devil May Cry game. Dragon's
That's one
Dogma.
of the best third-person action or
It's so
action
good.
character games of all
It's so
time.
good. Also Dragon's Dogma and Monster Hunter series. So like, it's not like he hasn't made amazing games already, and he is saying this one was my masterpiece.
Those are all okay, so there's 0 out of
And he's
10.
doing Dragon's Dogma too,
Yeah.
so you'll get more of this flavor.
Get more of
here,
it.
Yeah,
you know.
Dragon's Dogma 2. Yeah, baby.
That's right. That's right. Ghost of Tsushima movie is apparently in heavy development, according to the John Wick director. So we
Well,
kind of knew that
hopefully
that was in the
Chad.
they'll
works.
show
And
the
some
whole
Chad.
movie in the trailer.
some
That's
Chad.
all I
Yeah,
want.
please just show me the start to finish in the trailer. That's great. Yeah.
Just make sure there's a lot of diversity in the movie. All right, we need all the boxes checked.
Actually, I think we've touched on this before. He said he wants to do an all Japanese cast and make it
Yeah,
like in
yeah.
Japanese.
yeah,
Make it authentically Japanese. Like
That sounds
Not-
Good. That's
Yeah.
Not
all that were
okay.
there at that time.
That's
So.
not-
it's not
Not
okay.
okay.
He's gonna have the one white guy played by like I don't know. Let's
Cruise.
say the guy who from Firefly, Alan Tudyk or something, who's like, excuse me, where can I find a McDonald's or whatever? He's gonna be like,
Yeah.
I hope they cast both Tom Cruise and Matt Damon in this movie.
Really should.
Oh, man.
the
Yeah.
heroes of China from
Right.
Japan.
And
I want
Japan, both.
I
Here's
want
both.
Michael Caine in it. I want Michael Caine.
Michael Caine.
Michael Caine.
By the way, there was not really news, but there was a confirmation of sorts that Kojima said that he's not directing Death Stranding in the
Yeah,
movie, but he's
sure.
like he
Heavily
confirmed,
involved.
Like,
Yeah.
he's
Sure.
so involved in like almost every detail of the production.
Like Neil Druckmann,
Yeah.
right? Like basically like Druckmann.
Sony
Yeah,
is like
pretty much in
bankrolling
Last of
this
Us,
thing. They're gonna get some high-profile director to do this.
Yeah.
I think.
I'm
I
so
think they'll get a
stoked.
name because they need to somehow sell the game.
Del
This
Toro.
weird concept to a bunch
Just-
of
Just give it to Del
normies,
Toro. Just give it to Del Toro.
Yeah, I know.
Please
Seriously,
Please give it to
gonna
Del Toro.
be
He's familiar with the.
59
Yeah,
minutes
please.
of just walking.
Just
1 minute
walking.
of
A lot
talking.
of walking.
Yeah.
All right, listen. We don't want to do this too often, but we just have to talk about some of the Sony Microsoft drama because it's
Oh,
so
Jesus.
good. I'm
Oh
sorry.
yeah, the court stuff just started, the FTC on a stateside, so
too
we're gonna hear
good.
about it a lot.
So there's a bunch of developments. The only one I've written down, but there's been a few more since then. This is one of the more hilarious developments in
Yep,
my
bring
opinion.
'em up.
of the
Give
story.
Ryan's here. Here we go. Yeah,
Was,
see what this is
uh,
for.
that Sony boss Jim Ryan told the FTC that if Activision is purchased by Microsoft, that we're just not going to share the details of PS6 with them. We're not going to give them any. It's just like we're not going to show it to you. It's just like, okay, so you don't want Call of Duty platform? Like, what are you doing? I don't.
He doesn't want Microsoft to know their specs.
That's what he's saying. He's saying we can't give our direct competitor access to that information. So. I know. I'm with you, Kyle. I'm with you. Like,
listen, he's like half asleep.
I get it. Like when you explain it that way, like coding, you're giving it to a competitor, sure, whatever. But like,
but you don't have to give coding for that. Like,
look at Phil.
He's like firing at him. Like
that gif that Dan found the other day of Phil yanking the seat out from Jim Ryan and then running away laughing. Like that was one of the funniest gifs I've seen in a long time, man. That was so good.
I think one of the other main things that at least ponies or whatever have been celebrating is Xbox publicly having to acknowledge that they lost the console war. They said that they've been losing it for way longer.
Self-flagellation continues. They continue to like.
They said they've been losing it since like 2000, like early 2000. And I was like, what?
Y'all won Xbox 360.
Yeah, 360 was a great era for you guys. So you're clearly embellishing some.
Yeah, the PS3 was a stumble.
I was gonna say,
but
again, this is to me just a strategy. They're only coming out and saying this because they're like, well, we're not winning. We're in third. Like, you could sell it to us.
Yeah. Come on. Give me it. It's like Paul Rudd.
No, they're both being
serious. Well, one of the more interesting things to come out from a lot of these court proceedings was that Starfield was actually almost certainly going to be a PS5 timed exclusive.
Wow.
And so that was according to Phil Spencer, that was one of the reasons that they were like, well, there was no negotiating that they were offered. So he was like, we just have to buy Bethesda and change this. So he said that was one of the biggest reasons they were able to convince Microsoft to swoop in and purchase it. And so, yeah, it was apparently Bethesda had even said it was going to be on
now
PS5.
You know why PlayStation's pitching fits, because they probably had a bunch of stuff in the bag.
Lined up,
I bet they were really anticipating having that as a time exclusive. Yeah,
I think so. And so Microsoft is even pointing to the recently released and heavily acclaimed Final Fantasy XVI as like, this is what they wanted to do with Starfield. This is what they want to do with everything. They want to just pay these publishers to just put on their console. But the argument back from the other side, and it's a good argument, is, yeah, but we're not buying them so they can never make a game for the competitors again. We're just making a deal for this one. So
make your own deals.
I understand it from both sides, really do, but it is getting very childish and finger pointing.
It feels like a lot of pouting. Pouting on both ends.
I understand it too. Like for me, if this Activision Blizzard deal doesn't go through, I'd actually I might like quietly fist pump a little bit, because I do feel like that is a little overboard personally. Like, come on, you already have so many and that you're not doing anything with. Come on. So like Bethesda feels like enough. Like it feels like enough of a W for Xbox.
Yeah, I thought Bethesda was a huge win, and I think they could move forward easily.
So if Activision Blizzard gets turned down at so many countries, it doesn't make sense for them to pursue it. I'd be like, okay, actually, you know what? That's probably for the better. Like, maybe we'll just focus on Bethesda. What the hell?
Dan, where do you get this stuff, man? Oh my gosh. That's pretty good.
He's not that happy these days, I'll tell you that.
Well, also in these court proceedings, it was revealed that Indiana Jones, the game from Bethesda, is going to be an Xbox console exclusive.
Good.
Machine games, I think. Something like that.
Although it was originally talked about as being multi-platform, it is now Xbox exclusive.
That's okay.
So
I'm okay. It's like Spider-Man is exclusive. It's fine. This is fine for me.
This is a giant movie property game that they should own. I think that's totally fine.
Yeah. So that to me makes sense. But I'm kind of with you, Jeff. Like if it ends up being like, never mind, this whole deal fell through, whatever, I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
Like,
I have no stakes in it.
You're good.
I have zero stakes.
I have no care and if this goes through or how or whatever.
But it's a strange. We're watching these verbal gymnastics of weird self-flagellation from both sides. Like, I'm the worst. No, I'm the worst. So there's a little bit of that.
They're trying to be the worst person on the. It doesn't make sense to me.
And then they're also pointing how the other team they told Square, don't put their game on my system. Like, look how mean they are. It's just kind of like, all right, this is getting a little childish.
Not to jump ahead to a new news thing because it's connected, but to say all this and then the same week go, and we're raising the price of our console. Right. We're losing. But you're going to pay more for our losing console now. Like,
oh my God,
that is such a weird strategy to me. And like, it makes no sense. And I'm trying to look at it from like
What
a
does it
business
say?
point, and I don't get it.
Don't
Like,
talk
I
to
take
me.
it out of the way.
Sorry, Kyle. Derek just put Nancy Pelosi up there.
So talk to me.
What?
What's it say? Don't talk to me about. What's it say?
Don't talk to me about my timing. She invested in.
Oh,
in
Oh, right.
the
So,
Activision.
Yeah, her husband
Activision
invested
deal.
and actually spent more money on Apple than Microsoft, but that's not part of the narrative. So
She's probably
People
the
wanna
only
ignore that.
politician
Oh,
who's
you
ever
do
done that.
gifts in the background. Look at this shit.
oh
Yeah.
my god,
That's,
that's amazing!
yeah,
Hold on,
that's
let me
good.
just walk away. Let me just walk away.
It's just so good. It's just so good. I could watch it so many times.
Oh my god!
I love the big nose that Jim Ryan has
Oh,
all the
God.
time.
He's lying. Yeah, he's always
He's
lying.
like, why are you always
lying.
lying?
I don't
Fine.
think that I see so much, not so much. There's like mainly two people in the group that are like, hey man, Xbox is trash, and then they'll like celebrate pretty much anything that Xbox says in court. They'll rip it apart or celebrate it because they're admitting defeat or whatever.
Right.
And I don't understand that at all. Like
They're
I
just
don't
trying to win a
understand.
case.
No. I don't understand people that are like ponies, pretty much.
supporters,
That are
yeah.
like, yes, Xbox sucks. They're the worst.
Isn't that
And-
called
Well,
being
Yeah,
a,
that's
I
what we
think
want
they-
is no
making a
competition
company.
in this industry. We
It's
want
so
zero.
weird.
Yeah.
I know.
Well, I think for them, to be fair,
To be fair,
they're really upset about the deal. Like they don't want all these games to be exclusive on Xbox. So
well, yeah,
I get that from that.
I get that part, but to say like you can't have any of like Bethesda games, for example, I'm like, well, Bethesda kind of puts them on even playing field, in my opinion.
I get the element of like being like, listen, like I really can't afford buying a bunch of machines and a bunch of this and
yeah.
it comes from that angle. I totally respect that opinion, but when it comes from the childish bullcrap of like the console war stuff, and you're a grown ass adult,
Tribalism.
and the tribalism, and you're like, you know, with the pitchfork, like rooting for whatever team.
There's literally in our group, again, not a very big group, so I know
And
there's
it's a
more
small
people out
percentage.
there,
Yeah.
but most of the people that are ponies can afford an Xbox.
Well, and
It's just they
I'm
just
also of the
want it.
mind if you want something, you can make it. That's in your power to make it happen too. So if like if playing every game is something you long for, you can make that happen. Go work some extra hours. I know it's maybe a shitty thing to say, but like
You should
it
definitely
is within
say
your
that
power
when
to
you
get more
announce a new
money
console.
to expand on things if you want. But if it's not that important to you, maybe shut up. I don't really really know.
maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe shut up.
Maybe.
Yeah, I mean,
Shut up.
this stuff
I don't
happens.
care if you
People get
crack a
bought.
joke and
That's-
have fun, which some of them are doing that, but I
Yeah,
think some
sure.
of it's just.
I think some playful rousing is always fun. You know,
Yeah, but
yeah,
it was just, it was a hard time, like, after the, I'm not saying I was crying or nothing, but it was like,
Sounds like it.
I was reading the comments after the Xbox showcase, which, by most accounts, including the people here,
Was
we
great.
were like, that was awesome. That was probably
Yeah.
maybe one of the best ones of,
Say
if not
most
the
of
best
games
one.
media agrees with that too.
Yeah, exactly. And everybody was just like, not everybody. Again, it's a very small number of people, but they were like posting like Xbox memes being trash and stuff. And I'm like, what are y'all? Y'all just don't like games if you're not celebrating what you.
Yeah, they could have shown wall-to-wall exclusives, and I think that people would
Yeah.
still just be
I
like,
think
I don't
it's
know, I don't even like Indiana
tribalism,
Jones.
blind
you know?
tribalism.
It's tribalism, but also like, let's be honest, the PlayStation showcase they kind of fell on their face a little bit with that one. It wasn't amazing.
Oh, so it's like
and,
from a
In
place of
retrospect, yeah,
defensive-
Could
yeah,
be.
in hindsight,
Could be.
yeah,
I mean, it was good, but it's not bad. It was okay. It's a
0 out of 10.
zero.
Yeah, 0 out
This
of
is
10.
zero.
That's gonna be my
Listen,
official.
that is the motto.
review score.
That's the mantra of this episode.
Well, something that I think, speaking of 0 out of 10, there's a Harry Potter mobile game coming out on June 27th. You guys could probably
Oh,
check that
good.
one.
Niantic, right? The
it
same
is
people
free.
as Pokemon.
It is free. Is it Niantic who did this one? Maybe.
I
I don't think
I
so.
Let's
Okay.
let's
Niantic already did one.
Let's move it
Oh,
along.
that's what I'm thinking of. As an
They did one. I don't remember what the name of it was, but they discontinued that like a year after launch. It was pretty bad.
Because you can't have two Pokemon Go's on the market. That's not how it
Yeah,
works.
pretty much.
It's the Monster Hunter game that's like Pokemon. It's not Niantic, I think.
Oh, yeah, I forgot
Oh
about
yeah,
that.
yeah,
That's
that's
right,
right.
yeah.
That's
It's
what's in
Monster Hunter.
development. Yeah.
Yep.
EA's game Immortals of Avium has been pushed back 1 month from July 20th to August 22nd.
Oh, I didn't
Totally.
even know that.
Dead game.
Totally okay with
Um,
that.
Dead game.
Yep. So it's
Yeah.
moving back
I
into.
don't know how much work you can
dead
get
game.
done in a few weeks, but let it bake if it needs it. So.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree. They said it's for polishing and optimization in order to fulfill its vision for the game, and they want to
Means it's
optimize it for
broken.
all. They want to optimize it for all platforms and have a
Yeah,
strong. launch.
I heard specifically that the PC version is like needs a lot of work, so that's what
And
they're
what
doing.
Dude,
What did it get
Sorry,
pushed
Grace.
back to? August what?
22nd.
I think it was like a month. Yeah, just a month.
Yeah, pushed back 1 month. Yep. But I'm with them. Like, I think there's a lot of optimism around this new IP. People are curious about it, like
I
us
feel
two
like
on
the
the
buzz
show.
is really positive on this
I
game
think
too.
so.
Yeah.
Like people are calling it a big swing and a high budget new IP and yada yada. I feel like a lot of big positive words are kind of circling this game. So I'm definitely keeping my eyes on
Kind
it.
of works out because Remnant 2 comes out pretty much that
July
same time
19th,
frame.
right?
So
Yeah.
I really want to focus
I'm glad
on
things
that.
are spacing
It's
out.
kind
a
of
little bit,
perfect.
Metal Gear Solid Master Collection Volume 2 have reportedly had their games leaked. Don't know how accurate this is, but apparently on their
it's
website there are these
accurate.
buttons on the timeline for Master
Tap me,
Collection
Kyle.
Volume 1. And if
Happening,
you
Dan.
if you inspect the page, so if you're developing a web page, a lot of times you put something in that's a placeholder, but you hide it from the viewer. But if you just inspect the page, you can see the code. It's all right there. And apparently there are placeholders for Metal Gear Solid 4, Peace Walker, and Metal Gear Solid 5.
Nice.
Look at that. Look at that
So,
collector's edition.
if-
Dan
I
still
have
has
that.
it.
Yeah, I have the original DVD and stuff.
If
too,
that's
yeah.
the case, I
Oh,
think
wow.
there are going to be
Very nice.
many people who never played 4, maybe even Peace Walker, because that was PSP, wasn't it? It was PS.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, Peace
Yep,
Walker.
yep,
Yeah.
yep.
So I know Metal Gear Solid 5 was a pretty successful commercially, at least, game, wasn't it?
It was, yeah.
So a lot of people played that. I would replay it. That's a 8-year-old game.
I would
now.
love for them to. I don't know. I would love for them to like redo it if they like
Spruce
spoof it up a
bit.
little
I don't
bit.
think there's anything to redo with 5. It's a pretty
Five still
well
holds
looking
up.
It's
game
perfect
today.
the way it is, but I'm
Yeah,
saying
yeah.
if they're gonna release a collection, if they decided to
Make it look
maybe
nice.
make it look more modern, maybe add ray tracing or something
Make
like that.
shadows prettier.
Yeah, but I'd be
I
excited
wonder
to
if they
play
could make the
4.
writing better.
For
That'd be pretty cool.
shadows.
Yeah, make the writing make it more complete.
So as we'll talk about here in a minute with Nintendo Direct, the stuff that's going into Collection Volume 1, it looks awesome. There's tons of like
So much.
booklet stuff and old
Yeah.
NES games. There's lots of
Interactive
really
timelines and stuff like
lots
that.
of really
yeah.
fun Metal Gear Solid fan stuff, which is going to be great to have. So
Real
for volume,
goofy videos and those substance and subsistence
Yeah.
libraries. Yeah. You're
Yeah.
gonna get access to all that.
so for volume 2, I would have to imagine those are the 3 major ones that are left. There's probably other stuff too, but like those are the 3 major games that are left, right? Is 4,
Yeah.
Peace Walker, and 5. I mean,
Yeah,
What else
Portable
is
Ops isn't really considered canon, but you could throw
Okay.
that in there. Maybe
about
the
Acid?
the card games, Acid.
Acid
yeah,
on
Acid.
maybe throw those
PSP
in
as
there.
well, right?
Yep. So
Yeah.
maybe those make it in some sort of capacity,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
yeah, I mean, this is the whole saga. All like people have, like Tim was saying, there's a lot of people who've never played 4 before because it was entombed on some system no one wanted to buy. And
That you had to get a second job for.
yeah,
Yeah.
they have to get a second job, which I just pitched like 10 minutes ago.
Yes,
so
you did.
I'm kind of an evil person.
Yeah,
too,
You're
but-
part of the problem. You're
yeah,
part
who
of the
cares?
problem.
Get a job.
Get more hours.
Yeah, get a job.
Sony's on,
But seriously though,
Kyle's
like
self speed dial now. They're gonna hire him basically. That's what it is.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I'm
Just-
the new Sony
I,
PR
I
guy,
can't I can't believe that it's like it's fine. I've been just like come
Yeah.
on, like this needs to be more
my
easily
PS3
accessible.
broke years
like,
ago, so like I haven't been able to play 4 in a long time. It's my favorite game of all time. It was a game I played once or twice a year. It's a
Wow.
game I've
Yeah.
I've beaten. If I had to throw out a
Yeah.
real number, maybe 22 times, 23 times, maybe.
yeah, it's crazy. But,
So
but even
like,
just this trilogy, like even just the 1 through 3, like it's not
yeah,
easy
that's
to really
another
play
one where
both,
it's like I owned it on the Vita, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like, but you can't play Vita games on the PS5. I never bought it
Right.
on the Xbox 360. Then it got delisted, so that was another game I can't play anymore. It just
Yeah.
it feels good to be excited about Metal Gear again because like
Yeah.
I was ready to leave it all behind after 5, not because of sour reasons, but because it's like this
That's it.
series ran its course
It
and I'm
wrapped up.
happy with that. But now that it's back and we're getting a remake at 3, like it's just
so excited.
what a cool feeling for a Metal Gear Solid fan to like feel like
Yeah.
there's some life in this series again. So I'm so excited to be living
Yeah.
in this.
It's like a top 5
this
series for
time.
me. Like Metal Gear Solid's up there
Same.
with Devil May Cry, like and Final like they're up there for like
It's imperative.
I'm so-
It's imperative gaming for me. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that was part of the Nintendo Direct, which we'll dive into now, some of the headlines from there. I thought the Nintendo Direct started out, for me at least, a little bit sleepy, and I was like, all right, I'm not sure where this is going to go. And then all of a sudden, it started just hitting me,
Bang,
in the, like
bang,
punching me in
bang,
the face
bang.
over and over again. So let's go through some of these here. We are getting DLC the rest of this year. There's two waves of DLC for Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. It's called the Hidden Treasure of Area Zero. and it's going to have 2 parts this fall and winter. So
Both run at 10
some
frames
of our
per second.
some of our predictions, some of our
Hopefully not.
predictions were sort of right. Like there is new Pokemon, but since Scarlet Violet, it's not even a year old yet. It makes sense that it's just big DLC content.
Yeah.
And there is another Pokemon game.
And there's another Pokemon World. Type
Dan,
of
where are you at on this? Are you gonna play this DLC, these expansions?
I haven't popped it. Like, I don't know if they've done updates to the frame rate in the game. Like, I haven't popped it back in since I finished it originally.
You and I like the game regardless of the problems. So
yeah, I thought it like. Yeah, this was like finally like where it needed to go for many years, in my opinion. So
Yeah.
I'll try
Will
the
you
DLC.
play the expansions because of that?
Yeah.
Or?
Yeah.
I think I will
think
too. I think I'm excited, man.
Yeah.
We got more Sonic Superstars stuff that's also coming out this fall. It's actually rumored that might hit within 3 days of the new Mario game, which we'll talk about in a little bit, which would be funny if Sonic versus Mario happens again, right?
Yeah.
It's been a
Remember
minute.
when they were at the Olympics together? That was fun.
No, that was crazy.
What?
That was
It
too
was
much.
so
They were
fun.
friends for a moment, and now they're not.
Yeah, they
friends.
were in the same game together in a Wii, like a Wii. I think it was Wii,
Oh,
right?
that's right. Oh my
Dude,
god.
there's
that's
been,
right.
Sonic and
Yeah.
Mario at the Olympics. I think
There's
it was
been
Didn't
like
they have one
there's
in
been
the
like 2 or 3
Switch?
of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They
did have one on the
they've
Switch.
There was more.
They did.
Oh, okay. I
Yeah,
didn't
yeah,
know
there's-
that.
They
like
like
2 or
re-released
3.
it or something. Yeah.
Ah,
It's like
all right.
2022 or something.
Donkey Kong, eat your heart out.
Or 2020, whatever it was. Palia. It's a free-to-play life sim game coming out this holiday. They did confirm that Persona 5 Tactica is coming to the Switch as well, although that wasn't a new game reveal. So I'm not saying it's not exciting. There are people who are just pumped for that, which is awesome. It's just that wasn't like a new game reveal. It's just
Right.
I
also
like that
hitting the
Persona's
Switch.
everywhere now. It's on every system.
Persona's
You can't-
everywhere.
You can't throw a stone without hitting Persona.
That's right.
So.
That's right. And then Myth Force, which is this first-person roguelike action adventure, kind of had the Saturday morning cartoon style to it, which I liked the style.
I do too. Yeah.
Yeah,
looks rad.
kind of
I,
GI
I'm
Joe's
surprised
a
that the
little
Switch
bit.
can pull off graphics like that. To be honest.
Me too.
Hmm.
It kind
Yeah.
of had a GI Joe's
Well,
vibe.
they were showing it on PC.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
that's the thing. Everything
Sure.
was shown on. PC
Almost
in this.
certainly. Splatoon Fest Splatoon 3 is getting a Splat Fest in July.
Next.
We
That's
can
still
skip that one.
next.
We can skip that one.
Detective.
The splat is
Detective-
just jizz, right? Okay, you can move on.
Yeah.
Oh, all right, there it is.
That's
So,
actually what I do with my wife.
So, and
there's
then-
our M rating, guys. There it is.
So as you can hear, those things we just went through, like I wasn't really like tuned in and excited
Yeah,
yet.
I was mostly
And
checked
then
out.
Yeah.
my eyebrows kind of went up with this next one, Detective Pikachu Returns. I was like, maybe. I liked the movie a lot. I never really got into this series.
What
That's
is
I didn't
the
October.
play.
game,
I didn't
though?
play the first game.
There's
Or...
only one game. I
Yeah.
think it was on the DS or maybe
okay.
3DS, but like it was
It
a
is.
handheld game.
It is cool that like such a niche like Pokemon spin-off game is getting like a sequel all this
I
time.
think
Right.
you look for clues and you got to solve puzzles, but I don't really know for sure what it
I don't
is.
really know
so
at the
it's-
moment.
it's
the game
not
title
a Derek
what the
game,
game
alright.
is.
No.
And then out of nowhere, like I was
Tim?
actually expecting, like guys, we
Don't.
might like have another bad direct on our hands. Like I didn't think it was great, and then all of a sudden we saw Peach sitting in a little flower field in her pixelated little garden there. There it is, Dan. Nice.
He had props
So
ready
she
for this
was
episode.
she was sitting, and as soon as that happened, I yelled out
Got
loud.
Gallagher over here.
I yelled out loud. I was just like, "Mario RPG!" I started
yeah,
yelling,
Yeah.
and then of course the thing. Okay, go ahead, Dan. Go ahead.
Sorry,
I
I'm
wanna
sorry.
say something.
I'm sorry, but like my wife was upstairs feeding the stray cat. There's an adorable stray cat in the neighborhood, and we feed it.
Uh-huh.
Very cute.
Did you name it?
It's
Do you
actually
know?
a very nice cat. No, we call it Scavenger because he's kind of a
Yeah,
mooch,
fair.
right? He comes by, gets some food, and he's a little bit of a mooch, but he's cute. And I legit like yelled out loud enough where like through
I
my
was worried.
soundproof walls, like the cat heard it and kind of was like, "Oh shit! Like what the hell's going on?" Like,
Yeah.
Yeah, someone's being murdered.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, well, my heart was being murdered by
Yeah.
good feelings. By good
Yeah.
feelings.
Yeah, man, it was very exciting. And then of course
I
they
just-
had kind of the Starcom flag cross, and it updated to this. I don't know what you call it. Not diorama, quite like it just had a cool look
Well, it's
to
the
it.
isometric.
Diarrhea. Looked like a
to it.
diarrhea.
It looked
Didn't
like
look like
diarrhea.
that.
A
That's
lot of
you're thinking-
lot
you're
of
still thinking
bodily
Splatoon. You're still
liquids.
thinking
Yeah, I
Splatoon.
know.
Right?
5 minutes.
It's
But-
almost toy-esque, right? Because like
Very
the
toy-esque,
concept
yeah.
of the original game
Yeah.
was almost sort of like toys. I mean, literally, Gino is a toy, right? Like come to
Right.
like
Can I
stories.
just say? May I just say? Allow me to say.
May I say?
That
Can
I was just jazzed that we're just getting a re-release of it.
Well,
So like
that's
it was
what I
showing the
thought.
pixelated graphics. I'm like, this is all anybody wanted. And then it did
Yeah.
the switch, and I'm just like, get the F out of here. Like I was so excited that it had such a this is a remake. You know what I
Yeah, it
mean? Like
looks
you're rebuilding
so
assets,
freaking
you
good.
know, like That was so exciting to me because that's something I not
Very
only do
exciting.
I not think we deserve, but like it's
And they
something I
showed a
never
bunch
thought
of
we
the
would
battle
have.
scenes, some of the iconic battle moments, some of the iconic enemies, and of course you got Mallow and Gino in there. And like I got so pumped when I was watching the battle scenes. It still has the timing on a lot of the attacks, like the shell going up, and then you got to hit A right when it goes to kick. Like all these little moments that I was like, I am so into this right now. And then of course it closed out with November 17th. I was like, this is coming this fall.
Yeah.
This is coming this fall. So
I got a Mario
Final-
game. It's happening.
I got a new Final Fantasy game. I got a remake of the first RPG I've ever freaking played. I'm getting a sequel to Spider-Man. Like, who the hell is trying to like?
And
woo me?
Jedi
Like,
Survivor is like Dragon Age. So
it's like Dragon. Like
no, Jeff, everything that's good is like Dragon Age.
Yeah,
Oh,
no,
okay.
we've learned today that anything that plays well is like Dragon
it's
Age.
good, it's
oh,
like
okay,
Dragon
gotcha.
you guys are seeing
You know-
finally.
You know Dragon Age, that character action game with really smooth, fast
Yeah,
combat?
right.
Um,
High frames. That
Well,
you know what I'm talking
can
about.
Can I just point out real quick though? I don't know if you noticed, Tim, because are you the only one out of between
Kyle
me and
played
you? Have you guys played? Kyle, did you play originally back in the day?
played and beat it. Yeah, I was.
Okay.
This will
Yeah.
be my first time.
During the combat, there's a couple of extra elements there on the left bottom left corner. There's like a circle that shows a percentage that's
yeah.
completely new. No clue what that is. It's building up when like hits are happening. And then there was like something.
Special.
It was like a list of like stuff going on the left side as well. Almost looked like they were when things were being chained together. Like it was kind of mentioned that too. So
potentially a combo system of some kind,
Yeah,
or
yeah,
there's
sounds like-
adding little extra like elements in there, which is actually really cool.
Yep.
I don't know.
This was one that brought back a whole lot of memories because this was definitely a like summer playing in my room. Of course, when it's really hot, I got the window open with the box fan, trying to cool myself down while I'm playing this game for like 8 hours straight or whatever. So that there's that. But I also remember I was invited to join one of my best buddies on a beach trip. So we went down to South Carolina to the beach, and they were one of the only families I knew that had a TV in their van. And so we brought a Super Nintendo and we hooked up Mario RPG and we played it for the whole ride.
That's
Like
amazing.
took turns. It was so
So
fun,
jealous.
man. Like
Dude, I have great
game.
memories of passing controllers with that game and being introduced to it because we were really into chiptune music and 8-bit music like growing up. We loved it. So whenever this game has like some really interesting music,
the music is gorgeous.
someone
in this
brought
game.
it over to my house like, dude, you gotta listen to the music in this game,
Yeah.
man. That's how it got introduced to me, and I'm like, oh, is this a Final Fantasy Mario game? Like this is so
Yes,
this
it
is
is,
so amazing.
Kyle.
Yeah.
You know who
And,
the composer is?
I
It's
don't
Yoko
remember.
It's Yoko Shimomura.
Okay.
Kingdom Hearts and Final Fantasy 15 specifically.
Yeah,
she did
yeah.
this game, and she's actually coming back to do it. She's actually returning to do the
Oh,
music
I
for
didn't-
this.
I didn't
The music
realize that.
sounded super orchestral and beautiful. It
Yes.
it was definitely a new version of the music.
Yeah, which is so interesting because a lot of the music we grew up on, that chiptune music, gets those orchestral treatments from either local orchestras or someone online.
Oh,
or
she
something
did
like
Sparks
that.
of Hope too with Gareth Coker. And
Oh, did she?
yeah, that's cool.
Okay.
Sparks of Hope soundtrack. I remember saying this at Game of the Year. Like it has no right of who made the music so
You
good.
did
Like,
say
what was-
that. I remember saying
Yoko
that.
Shimomura.
Yeah, and it was Gareth Coker who
and
did
Gareth Coker, who does the
Ori.
epic the Ori music, of course.
Yeah.
Wow.
and
Holy
the
crap.
original
So the
Halo.
two of them?
The two of them
Wow.
together. Yeah.
Or Halo
That's
Infinite.
that's
Yeah.
So
amazing.
Sparks of Hope had no like. That's why Nintendo was like, "Can you hold off on this one? This is a little much." Like,
Yeah.
Yeah, for me it was when I think of that game, and I remember getting from Blockbuster. I would go and rent the game, and the first time I got it, I remember like going in because I didn't even know what the RPG stood for. I didn't even know what that acronym stood. I had no idea. I thought it was just part of the title. It was just like, oh, letters, whatever. Like I was so young. I
the
had
Mario game.
Yeah, it's a new Mario game. And I remember like going into the save file, and it was in the volcano, which is basically one of the last areas before like the last main area. And like I just got demolished by the boss or bosses in that one area. And I was just like, what is happening? Like, I have no idea. This is so hard. And then I remember actually eventually like getting it for Christmas or something, and actually like beating the game. And it was like one of the biggest triumphs like as a kid, because it was probably the hardest game I had played back then, besides like just platforming Mario.
And it was long, Like it was long. A lot of hours into it.
And it was just man, just so many good memories.
Remember renting cartridge games where you had to try to get the same copy, otherwise your save file was gone, gone.
Oh yeah.
Or people would.
That's how I
delete it,
beat
you know?
Ocarina of Time. I kept on going up there, and I was like, I want this. I want to rent this.
I need this one. I marked it on the
Wow.
edge, and it's my. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or when you rent one and someone's like at the like really far in the game, you're like, I'm just gonna delete their file because I'm gonna play it from right here.
Yeah,
Like,
see?
all right,
Yep, no.
all right, whoever you are.
Yeah, sorry, Ben.
Dude, I still remember when I saved. It was purely accidental. I saved over my brother's almost at the end of Chrono Trigger save file.
You
No.
monster. Oh.
Oh no.
Like I remember he actually didn't even like we got in fights over the years, but he didn't like he wasn't angry. But he never finished it. Like that was it. He never played
Yeah.
Chrono Trigger again because that was it. That was like 50 hours of his life just gone. He was
Tim,
like, never
you
mind.
took his time. You took all of his time away from
No,
him.
I took it. I took it away. I'm so
Full of
bad.
dreams.
Very excited about this one. This is one I might have beaten Mario RPG more than any other RPG. I could be wrong. I want to say I'm up because I don't replay games a ton. So if you talk to
Yeah.
me a lot about
Oh,
games, like I don't
okay.
usually play games start to finish a ton over and over and over again. But Final Fantasy VI, both Suikoden 1 and 2, not 3 as much, just 1 and 2, and then Super Mario RPG and Chrono Trigger. Those are like, I mean, that's very concentrated. I realize that. That's
Yeah.
very much Super
Yeah.
Nintendo PS1 era. But like I replayed all those games so many times. I might have done this one 8 or 9 times, which is a lot for me. Like I've played that game through a lot and I love
Several
it.
times for sure.
So they weren't done talking about Mario stuff. They talked about a new Princess Peach game, although they didn't give us many details other than her standing on a stage and her dress changes kind of Elsa style. And I'm not sure exactly what that game is, but Princess Peach game they're going to tell us more about coming out next year, they said. Along with a Luigi game, which is a remastered, looked like a remade, but remastered version of the 3DS Luigi's Mansion Dark Moon
That's
game.
awesome.
Sweet.
It's coming. to
I
Switch.
didn't even catch those two announcements because I was still like just
Oh, of
passed
course.
out in my chair
Right.
from Super Mario RPG. I was just like,
The last Peach game was on DS and it was fantastic.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
Peach
people
games,
like that.
you know,
Yeah.
they're good.
Yep. So that was cool. I think all three of those announcements are exciting. And then there's another Mario thing we'll talk about at the end too. Batman Arkham Trilogy is hitting the Switch this fall.
Wow.
I don't have any problem
Ow.
envisioning Arkham Asylum working fine, not looking
Right.
amazing, but working fine. Arkham City's gonna look pretty rough, I would imagine, run pretty rough. And then Arkham Knight, I'm like,
That's a cloud game, right? I mean, it has to be.
how?
That map is so big. You have to
If you
drive
figure
around
out a
so
way to
much.
get that game running, but you couldn't get Kingdom Hearts 1 running without being on
I
cloud,
know- dude, that's a good
I want to
point.
talk to the guy who.
Yeah.
We'll talk to Nintendo's manager.
Yeah, I need to talk to the decision.
So,
maker
but that's
there.
supposed to hit this fall. Like, amazing games, excellent games, and
Yeah.
so that's
If
fantastic.
more
that
people
they're
get to
doing
play them
this
because
stuff.
of this, great.
Yeah,
Fantastic.
that's great. But if you have any other place to play them, I recommend doing that.
Yes.
Especially if you have a PC, you can get them so cheap all the time. They're always like dirt
They're
cheap.
always
Yeah.
awesome.
Probably
And Knight is
playable
so
on
well
Steam
optimized
Deck
for the
too.
PC. It's so
And-
good.
Derek's right. They probably are playable on Steam Deck. I know I played Batman Origins a little
I
bit.
played
on
They
Steam
City.
fair
Deck.
City's actually optimized pretty well for the deck. So
Yeah. Gloomhaven is this turn-based card strategy game that's hitting September 18th. It's actually on my wish list on Steam because I think it looks really interesting. So might be in early access now, but I've never actually played it. But Gloomhaven's coming to Switch in September. So is Just Dance 2024. Also Silent Hope,
Thank
which
God.
is an interesting looking game from Xseed. It's this isometric action RPG. The idea is that the kingdom's been cursed to have no words, and so I guess there's no dialogue. Derek, you might like this game a lot. But so I don't know exactly if the game plays well or anything, but it looked kind of interesting, and the idea of it being a silent kingdom. Kind of
To be honest,
interesting.
Silent Hope is my hope for real life. So
Just for silence in general.
Yeah. I just want
Okay, fair
silence.
And then they had a bunch of quick hits. Fae Farm coming out September 8th. Hot Wheels Unleashed 2 is coming to Switch October 19th. Manic Mechanics hits in July. That kind of looks like Overcooked, but with like
good name.
car repairs.
I bet that'd be fun, like co-op.
The idea is like you run around with parts and try to repair them and then run back and try to connect. Like it kind of looked like Overcooked.
It looked like Overcooked to me too. Yeah.
Mario plus Rabbids Sparks of Hope DLC actually launched during the Direct. The idea was later today because they didn't have a release date for that yet. They had just announced it, and so that released that day. And then a new Dragon Quest game called Dragon Quest Monsters: The Dark Prince, and it's slated for December 1st. So this one, it doesn't look like the prettiest game by any stretch of the imagination, but
that one.
I bet
It's the one where it's like Pokemon. You like
Yeah,
you
it's a
get
monster.
monsters.
No, I'm
you
saying
make
I
them
just don't
bang.
even remember this announcement. Like,
yeah, it didn't look amazing, but it's a Dragon Quest game. It looks cute.
I wasn't into it.
I'm sure it's fun, but I'm not really into those kind of games.
Yeah.
They did a bit of not a super deep dive, but a bit of a deep dive into
Oh,
Pikmin
sure.
4.
Okay.
And they showed
Yeah.
some Pikmin 4 gameplay details and then talked about, like Jeff, you said, the demo hitting this week. I don't know. Did they say anything about it carrying over progress if you do?
I missed
know.
that detail if they mentioned
Their
know if they said
demos
that.
normally do, so I would imagine so.
And then the game's still slated for July 21st. So Pikmin 4 could be a surprise fun one that I'm currently not. I don't have it on my short list for games I'm going to buy and play day one, but I don't know, man. I watched that gameplay thing and I was like, this looks fun.
I used my voucher
lot
on
of
it because I
great
was like
memories
told
from
like,
Pikmin
hey,
3.
not just by you guys, but I was told by people that know my gaming
It's a
sensibilities.
Jeff,
Like,
it's a
hey,
Jeff game.
it's a Jeff game. But then they announced the Mario stuff, and I'm like, I could just use the voucher on something else. Like, I mean,
Yeah,
now I'm
yeah,
just
yeah.
second guessing.
What's the deal with this voucher? Because I remember.
I'm just gonna buy another voucher and buy
It's
the
2 games for
Mario
$100, Dan.
So yeah, you pay $100 and you can get 2
Yeah,
games.
it's been going on for a couple months. Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
And I think it was Kyle. Someone said that you can have up to 8 on your account at once.
Yep.
Mm.
But I
Okay.
think I don't think there's a limit to how many you can actually use, right? You can.
Yeah, if you use, you
You can
buy
just
8,
have
use
8
4, you
built
can buy
up.
4 more.
Yeah, they just mean for like your pre-order, right? Like you can't just
Yeah.
pre-order 10 or whatever.
Yeah, I think it's
not that
limited to
there's
8.
10 releases, but you know what I mean.
So like I used one, for example, for Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, and I would imagine that if that had been my number 8, I imagine now I have an available slot to buy another set of vouchers. If I would imagine.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how that
I
works.
think that's right. Yeah.
Pikmin 1 and 2 will also be hitting the Switch this week as well, which is pretty exciting.
3 is already on it, which is
So the
did
whole
it
Pikmin
come out on Switch?
No, it came out on Wii U and is ported to
And then
Switch.
they
just
like
ported it.
Okay, that's what I
many
thought.
other games. Yeah.
3's really good.
And then the Metal Gear Solid Master Collection Volume 1 was confirmed to also be coming to the Switch October 24th. It's going to include Metal Gear Solid 1, 2, and 3, along with the older NES games. And I couldn't even keep up with the notes of all the stuff they were saying is included in here. But Kyle, we kind of talked about it a little earlier with the timeline and all this like additional stuff.
There's a lot of interactive stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, really cool stuff. So that Master Collection. Now I'm likely to buy it, but not likely to buy it on the Switch for 2 main reasons. One,
PC.
I think PC because I'll have the deck I could play things on.
I'd rather play it on the deck. Yeah.
But also Nintendo is likely to release a new console within, I would say, 18 months or so from now, if I had to guess. Maybe 2.
I want to make sure where I'm buying this next, like it's there forever. You know what I mean?
And Steam's a good place to do that, right?
Steam's a good place to do that.
Yeah.
It's an online library that no matter what device, Anyway,
Steam's going under though. They're going under.
Oh, thanks, Derek. Is that your prediction?
Breaking news. Valve's
Wait,
going
trying to
They
under.
sing
still have to
the
make a
Evanescence
Steam
song?
2 because we know they're never going to get to Steam 3. Let's just make more Steam jokes.
That's right.
More
That's right.
Valve
Are we doing
jokes.
Evanescence song? Is that what we're doing?
One of the-
Going under.
one of the most no-brainer games to go to Switch, in my opinion, is Vampire Survivors. So that'll hit August 7th.
And co-op, that's so cool.
And 4-player couch co-op,
That's so amazing. Oh, that'd be so
It
fun.
looked
See, their
incredible.
commercials are real. There are people that would get around that little screen and play Vampire
They're sitting
If
there
I
like
Survivor.
had
bumping
3
shoulders.
friends,
All 4
I'd
of
do it
them.
right now. Yeah.
But Vampire Survivors hits August 17th. I don't know if it's coming to other consoles as well. I'm pretty sure it was just PC for now, but
Yeah.
it might be hitting other consoles too. I'm not sure about that. Some weird pigeon game called Headbangers is some rhythm game. I'm not even going to talk about that one. Also,
It was
Penny's
weird.
Big Breakaway looked like Balan Wonderworld, so I stopped looking at it after a few minutes. It looked weird. That comes
So
out
that
in
was the
20.
Goaty, Tim. That was the Goaty.
It's an isometric 3D platformer. And then a new wave of Mario Kart 8 content, I believe, is hitting this summer, although maybe it's available now. I don't remember. But that's going to include PD Piranha, Wiggler, and Comic. And then
Is that part of the pass that I already bought, or is that a new
Booster,
pass?
yeah, the booster pass is part of the
Booster
whole thing.
Pass.
Okay.
And then so they'll do this probably at the end of the summer, and then there's going to be one more wave in Q4, Q3,
Okay, cool.
and then that's it. Yeah.
One of the
So
coolest
many tracks,
looking,
that's awesome.
one of the
I
coolest
love
looking
it.
games. Although I think it was leaked that this game was being worked on, but I hadn't seen any images of it. But Star Ocean: The Second Story R, this 2D, 3D remake, looks amazing. I love the style
And
of it.
if I'm not mistaken, this is one that's never come here before.
So
Maybe.
it was I think it was ported to either the PSP or Vita. Like I know there is a way to play
Oh,
it, but
okay.
it's on the handheld, and it was a while back. So
Okay.
A
so
while
there-
ago.
a while ago.
A
But yeah,
while.
this is definitely really awesome that they're doing that, because they had re-released Star Ocean, the first one, R or
Yeah,
something
R.
like that, like First
Yeah.
Departure R or something like that.
You guys keep going. I got to go check on something, but keep going.
And so yeah, they're doing the HD 2D look, which is really cool. But although
Dude,
the
yeah,
back
it looks awesome.
a little more
Well,
3D.
I think the combo
right?
system is like they said they upgraded that in some way, so like the combat looks interesting and the game looks awesome. I love Star Ocean. Those are such fun games.
Yeah, I've never played 2. I've like played a small amount of the first one. The two that I've basically like played and finished and really loved was 3 and 4. So
Yeah,
till end of
I
time.
played and beat the first one to Departure R and the
Okay.
third one, which is End of Time, right?
Yep, till end of time.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. And then 4 or 5, Last Hope, those are a little fuzzy, so I didn't play much of those.
Last Hope I actually thought was really solid. Like I actually liked the combat quite a bit in that one. Like, and that was on the PS3 360 era.
It got a 4K upgrade and stuff like that as well. So
yeah. That one I think is definitely worth playing. I think where it started going downhill was
I did play. Remember, you talked me into playing it. I did end up really liking it. It just it's so hard to. It's like an 80-hour game. I'm not,
Yes,
like, I got other things to get to.
Absolutely.
You guys know
The
I
new one
normally
that
don't.
just
I
came
normally
out
don't.
is actually really good.
Divine Force. Yeah.
Okay.
Normally I don't play these kind of games with this kind of gameplay, but after Octopath, I'm learning to shut up and just watch the trailer and be like, "Oh, it looks like Octopath," and then I'll probably play it because it looks like a little bit more refined Octopath. Like
it's not
it's quicker based. Yeah, I don't think. I think.
No, I meant the visuals, but
Sure. But I'm saying it might be a little more to your liking because the combat's going to be a little more faster paced and not so.
Yeah, I gathered that from watching some Divine Force gameplay. I was like, oh, this isn't like I thought this was all turn based like strategy. Like I would hate it.
Yeah, no.
Star Ocean's
Divine
an action
Force
RPG.
is very action.
Sweet.
It actually reminds me of like Final Fantasy 15 with the way you use this like ability to shoot through, like laser through and really hit the enemies real hard, and then you can go into a combo.
That's awesome.
It's actually fun action.
I think there's a free demo of that on PS5. Like
at least it's on sale right now, and it's on a major sale right now.
Oh, cool. Okay, awesome.
But the main character is literally the douchiest looking character I've ever seen in my life.
Terrible haircut.
Like, who thought that hair was a good idea? Like, seriously, who thought that hair was a good idea?
The plot and the story is actually good. It's the voice acting's a little weak.
It's always bad. They're always bad, yeah.
So you just have to be
okay
story
with it. Really good. I like the third game story a lot. It gets really weird.
Well, the third one I think is like the end of the whole timeline. So I think like if you're trying to chronologically order them, I'm pretty sure it's the one that's at the end. So
right, and it is the most futuristic of it because like the first game's all about like, and I think the second game's like this too. You kind of get derelict in time. Yeah. Unlike maybe not in time, but like on a planet that's not as like progressed as
that's
some of
usually
the other parts
how
of the galaxy.
It is.
So it's like you're a future boy, stuck on this primitive planet, kind of like, and that's kind of the premise of the first two games. Boy. And the third game is like all sci-fi. Like it's like 90% sci-fi, which is awesome.
Well,
does anybody have the notes?
Let's keep.
I got it. WarioWare Move It was the next game announced November 3rd. They just did get it together.
Along.
I love these games, but there's not much to say about it.
They're already doing another one, and I'm like, I guess you ran out of mini games.
This one looks like. Is it different than the last one? Is it more about like?
I think it's more traditional mini games.
I think it's more
so
motion
much
interactive.
Okay. Yes, they're utilizing Joy-Cons on this one. That's what I remember hearing too. Anyway, the most important game for me, at least. Sorry for the RPG fans. I've never played that game, but Super Mario Brothers Wonder, a new 2D Mario with a updated visual style, 4-player co-op too, coming out. The same day as a little indie game called Spider-Man 2, October.
Oh my god! Is it the same day?
Yes.
Dude,
literally the same day.
What is this year? What is this year?
Yeah. I don't understand. Counter programming, but those are like gigantic games. Like so.
Yeah. Oh, you could definitely.
All of us are going to be playing those games. Like I mean.
They're two pillar video games for sure.
Yeah.
I'm definitely buying the 2 Mario games.
You got King Mario, man. You got thick Elephant Boy Mario.
Yeah.
Super into it.
Can we talk about this game's just an acid trip, basically? Like it's
pretty much. It's kind of like Odyssey. Yeah. Odyssey was like you could just throw your hat on a thing and then you can be that thing, and it made no sense. but which was the delightful part of it. And this is the same thing with this game, where it's like you can become like an elephant or whatever, just because whatever.
And
wonder
tubes are
powers.
moving, and
yeah.
like everything's weird. You know, like
Yeah,
I liked it a lot. I really liked that trailer quite a
loved
bit.
it.
And like even just his character model has like a lot of like uniqueness to it, like
Yeah.
more so than the last few like side-scrolling Mario games, where like
It's got style to it for sure.
they were fun, like, but the like what was it, new Super Mario Brothers kind of like, I don't know, I felt like it almost felt a little soulless. Like it was still a fun game, but I don't know, there was something to the look of it that was just kind of like,
I'm sorry, which game
I
I
don't know,
missed?
the new Super Mario Brothers, which I think was on the Wii, if I'm not mistaken, or was
I
it
think
the
it was Wii?
Because
I
they
think it
did
was
a Wii U one. Yeah,
Yeah,
okay.
I think it was just called Wii. I think you're right. Super Mario Brothers Wii or something like that.
And then there
Sounded
was
familiar.
the Wii U, which was a sequel, and that had co-op in it. So like they're
Yeah.
basically what they're doing here is
This
similar to
one's
that.
4 whole ass players, and I think it's not in the notes, but I think that it was like a big deal that one of the characters that you're able to play as, I can't remember who it was now.
Well, there's Daisy. So Daisy's
Yes,
in
Daisy.
there.
Daisy.
It was Daisy,
Yeah,
yeah.
Daisy's. Yeah. That's big.
Everybody's like, "Oh, you get to play as Daisy," and I'm like, "Oh, I haven't played enough Mario to know who that is."
Yeah.
It's not Princess Peach.
Yeah, everyone has
okay,
a
gotcha,
basically.
It's
Yeah,
brown hair
brunette
Princess Peach.
instead of a blonde.
Gotcha.
They all have counterparts. So because there's Waluigi to Luigi, there's Wario to so on
But
and so
Daisy's
forth.
not evil or anything like that.
Right. Yes.
Yeah,
Exactly.
she's just a brunette. So
Yeah.
I
Yes.
forget who the 4th person would be then. So obviously it's Luigi and
That's Toad,
Daisy.
Luigi.
Toad,
Daisy,
thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Was Toad in there?
see, when we
And
I
Daisy.
want Wario in games. Like I don't want Wario in a
Play
mini
Wario
game. I
Move,
want
dude.
Wario in games.
Yeah,
Why
play
not?
want another-
Get it together.
I want another Wario Land game because I love the Wario
too.
Land
That'd be
old
fun.
school
I
Game
think I
Boy
haven't played
games.
that.
Those-
Actually-
I
Or
thought
like a
oversized
Wario
Nintendo.
and Luigi game where they go like on a adventure together or something.
I
Hold on,
love that.
Yeah.
Where they just beat the crap out of people and like
Those-
laugh at them the whole
I'm
time.
gonna win. You know?
So like
yeah, I'm into
he
it.
was introduced
I gotta
in Mario
win. Yeah.
Mario Land 2, the 6 golden coins, which was an excellent platformer on the Game Boy. And then he got 3 Wario Land games, which were all super fun. And
Yep.
he just kind of disappeared outside of WarioWare, which is too bad.
Yeah,
I
like
could have
this
sworn
one.
there was
People
actually.
yeah,
don't like
Wonder
Wario
looks
as
awesome.
much as Mario.
Yeah. And then you guys just finished talking about Wonder, right? With the elephant and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That one looks like a lot of fun, and it looks beautiful too. All the
Oh, yeah.
criticisms I've seen, I just got to call out GameScoop for a sec. One of my favorite shows. Some of the opinions that I hear on there, I usually just kind of shrug off, who cares? But sometimes it's consistently out of nowhere that they don't like
Is
the way something
Justin
looks.
still on there?
Yeah, sometimes it's him. He was the one who said the Princess Peach game was bad. He was like, "Oh, I hope it's better than the last one." I was like, "Everyone loved that.
Everyone
game.
liked that game. Yeah.
What are you talking about?"
He
But
probably
then
didn't
also
play.
like guys like Sam, who is such a retro gaming fan and thinks that video games just can't tell good stories, and he has all these opinions like this that kind of make me roll my eyes. But he didn't. He said he finished the direct and thought it wasn't that good, and then I'm thinking about it, maybe it's better than he thought. And Mario RPG, like that's one of the last Mario games I want to play. It's the worst Mario RPG game compared to Mario and Luigi and Paper Mario. And I'm sitting there going, "What are you
What?
talking about?"
Yeah.
What?
You
What are you
can like those
talking-
games and not diss this one.
Yeah, I was
I
gonna say,
don't-
those are excellent.
What a
those
weird,
are
what a
excellent.
weird like.
great.
Yeah,
I liked
gotta take that game a
Origami
peg down.
King, I think it was the last one. That was really good, but
Yeah.
repetitive by the end of it. But like, yes, that's a really dumb take. That's a really
Yeah,
boneheaded.
and then he said he thought that Mario Wonder was one of the worst art styles. Like he thought that the
Oh
new
my
Super
God,
Mario
bro.
Brothers side-scrolling games, he didn't like that art style either, and he
I was
thinks
gonna
this
say,
is a
I was
yeah.
literally just saying that, Tim. I was saying this actually has like a whimsy and like a uniqueness to even just Mario's character
Right.
model. Like there's something like there that makes it stick out a little bit more from the last one. Like what is he talking about?
It was like
Yeah.
he looks dumb when he jumps and stuff. I was like, all right, I can't
Yeah,
listen.
go play
to
more
I
pinball.
can't take you
games,
seriously
buddy.
anymore, dude.
Go play more pinball. Yeah, which is too bad, but
Go play more.
Is that the type of retro gamer he is? Where it's
Yeah,
like
yeah. He
pinball
like
and
owns
Atari and
pinball
shit?
machines and
Yeah.
yeah, that's. Yeah.
God damn.
and he has an
Well, I'm
insane
sure
knowledge
he
of
plays
old school
those for the
games.
story. They're really good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
Well,
his
I don't know.
take
Have you
is-
seen the story in the Mars Attack pinball game? It's
His his take is that there are no good video game stories. Like even the better ones are like nowhere near as good as other
never
medium
once.
tell stories.
Yeah, it's never happened. Yeah.
And so like he'll skip storylines, doesn't care about
Oh,
stories.
that's so
All right.
frustrating.
Well, he sounds
like
like my
Garrett.
type of guy.
No, I mean you care about story on some level, though. This guy sounds like he has no investment in any of it.
Yeah.
But it's, the thing with you mentioned listening to a podcast, and sometimes you have to like ignore people's
Yeah.
bad takes. Sometimes I straight up will turn off a podcast if the opinions of the person that's a host is so far like completely separated from who I am and like what I like.
takes too
that
long.
I'll
You
just like,
can't do
okay,
it.
I can't listen to this guy anymore.
If he
Because
goes on
every
too
week
long, I'll
he's chiming.
I'm like, let me
Yeah.
skip ahead a little bit. Like I don't want to hear you drone on for 30 minutes about how you
Yeah,
hate
about
some
like how
high-profile
and it's
successful
a
game.
movie podcast specifically I'm thinking of where like I really like the guy. I've met him in person. He's such a nice guy. It's a small podcast, so I don't want to like name it and then nobody's gonna listen to it. It was like he brings so much of himself to. Imagine bringing so much of your personal experience to a game, to a movie, to a show, and if it doesn't align directly with your life, then you're gonna condemn it or like give it a bad score or rating. That makes no sense to me. That is like
but
not
it
the way.
happens a lot.
I know, but like
Yeah, that sounds like
That's what I was
reviewing
talking
me.
about with 16. I was like, you know,
so
because it's like
frustrating.
people just
I know. It is
people just
frustrating.
shove their wants and needs as if every
Yeah.
box needs to be checked.
I
but it's like,
showed up
it's
to
not
play a
that, it's
turn-based
like-
game
it's
and
like-
I didn't get it. Yeah.
It's like, okay, so here's an example. Like the movie Booksmart, which I really thought was hilarious. He was like, that wasn't my life in high school, so I didn't like that movie. And I was like, what the hell are you talking about? It's
not like
not a
literally
documentary
Not
about
relatable. I grew up a boy and not a girl. Not relatable.
Clive,
Yes,
Clive
so
is
dumb.
too fit.
I'm sorry, so does he
I
like,
was
like, fun
fat when I was
things? Like-
his age, so I
That's
can't
the thing.
relate
Like,
to him.
where are you drawing the line?
Clive
where you
actually,
can't
he
relate
has a
anymore?
tattoo on his face, and I'm not about that, so I don't
Yeah.
care
Right,
at all.
right. Mike Tyson though would definitely he vibes with
Yeah.
that.
He vibes,
so.
Yeah, who do you think
I just
I
can't
am? Mike
imagine doing
Tyson?
that with like Final Fantasy 16,
Okay.
and you're like, I never played with swords before or learned how to fight.
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
it's not, it's not a good
I
game.
didn't find
I
any
can't
Marvel
cast magic, so I
roles
couldn't
when I
connect
was,
on any
you
sort
know,
of level.
Marver.
I didn't find any Marvel
Marvel.
roles when I was 15. So like,
All right, guys, we're gonna start to wrap it up, and I say that because I know we've still got another probably 20 plus minutes to talk about. We got Marvel's Secret Invasion premiere just launched on Disney Plus. Any initial thoughts on the latest Marvel show?
yeah, what the f?
Yeah,
Oh, I'm glad
it's
you
good.
watched it, Dan. I know it's not a binge format, but I'm glad you caught it.
Yeah, dude, what the
yeah,
f?
the ending was like, are you seriously going to do that right now?
on a show, not even one of the movies, on a show. Are you kidding? Like, dude.
Yeah, the stakes feel pretty high after that for sure.
Yeah,
even though I know it's a smaller scale story from what the comic book counterpart is, I think they even went as far to be like, don't read the comics because that's not what you're doing to like the director.
Got it.
So yeah, I'm liking it so far because despite it being a
Yeah.
smaller story, it still feels like the stakes are pretty big. So
Yeah, it's like, and I know they're dealing with aliens, but it still feels like a grounded spy show, at least
Yep.
for now. And I kind of went in kind of with low expectations because just the general vibe I'm getting from Marvel and how I feel about Marvel things lately that I've been watching that are not Spider-Verse related is just kind of like, it's okay, it's good to okay, Guardians 3 aside. So I'm just kind of like, I don't know. I was just not prepared for a good show for some reason.
it snuck
And,
up on me for sure.
Man, yeah,
Yeah.
I was like, what the hell? This is great. Like, yeah, it was a great start. Yeah. We'll follow back up on it when it
I love
And that's
Sam
only-
Jackson just in this role too. Like,
Oh,
man,
yeah.
he's so what a fun actor he is.
I have a feeling he adds so much to the page because there's a line where he
Oh,
says
sure.
something like he says something like, "Well, I found yo ass" or something like that, and I'm like, "There's
Yeah.
no way it was scripted
that's
that
that's
way."
a,
Very
that's a
simple.
Jacksonism right there.
That's
yeah.
Sam Jackson.
Well, that's called the Jackanism.
Yeah.
That's a Sam Jackson, dude.
And was it just the first episode or the first two?
Yeah, just one.
Yeah.
Just one. Okay.
I think
okay.
it's a 6-episode season, so it's kind of like, yeah,
Just spreading it
it makes
out.
sense.
Okay. Also, with some new content is The Bear season 2 on Hulu, and I know Jeff and I were
Wow.
championing this show last summer when it came out. We both loved it, and
Yeah.
I really think all you guys would enjoy it. It's not only is it quick, if you like really fast dialogue, like if you like Aaron Sorkin type stuff, and if you like,
Yeah.
I don't know, I think it's funny while also being very dramatic. I think it's very funny, actually.
Yeah. There are
Um,
times like there's a part in an episode that very explicitly comes to mind where you remember the big guy who's an actual chef who's got a beard, he's got tattoos and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I forget his name, but he was an actual chef. He had a heart attack at 27, stopped doing drugs because of it, and stuff like that. Anyway, he plays a chef in the show, and like the main guy, his name's Carmy. He walks into like the office area, and the guy's just standing there facing the wall. And it's just like a long pause, and he's like, "You hiding?" He's like, "Yeah, I'm hiding." It's just like, I don't know. It's just the way that
So
the
what is
funny
the
moments just kind of
the
come out
show
of
like?
nowhere after a bunch of drama. It's just really
Yeah.
funny.
Yeah. What'd you say, Dan?
What's the general premise of the show again?
They're trying to run this Carmy guy, his brother and their cousin run a restaurant called The Beef or whatever. That's in Chicago, and it's extremely busy. It's one of those like New York, like Chicago staple places that's not upper class, but like a bunch of middle class people know what it is. Like, you got to go there, dude, for lunch. They get lines out the door. So this guy's brother, played by John Bernthal, in like flashbacks and stuff, he dies. You'll find out details about that as the show goes on. And it's about his little brother, trying to take over the restaurant, basically.
So his little brother actually was a chef at a highfalutin restaurant.
Yes, and so Joel McHale played his chef boss or whatever. That
he was like master chef level stuff, and now he's down in Chicago in like the dirt and grime of this local little, almost deli style, family style. And
everybody's
place.
Just shouting at each other without reckless abandon in front of customers. Like, they don't care. There's no decorum.
In the first season, he's calling everybody chef like you do in a proper kitchen, and they're all like, "What are you saying? Like, Jeff? I'm not Jeff." So like it's very kind of fun. I really like it. The humor is fast and funny. Yeah. There's even a joke about being beta in one of the episodes. I'm like, Derek would like this show.
All right, I'm out.
But hell
yeah, brother!
In the middle of it, where like there are these guys outside, and the guy's cousin. I can't see him in the picture.
He's on your right.
The blue shirt with the blue
shirt.
Here?
Okay. Blue shirt. Yeah, he goes outside and he's like, "You guys look like a bunch of Snyder cult wannabe." Like, and he like shit talks them with the big Snyder diss, and I'm like, "This is my show, dude.
This is my show. This is my show."
Snyder diss.
I would say it's an interesting combo between a bunch of different stuff. Like, I only say Aaron Sorkin because the dialogue is so fast in these 20-something minute episodes, and the responses are really quick, and so it moves really quickly.
Yeah.
And I also, to me at least, it's not as like bubbly as a Ted Lasso, but I think it's got funny and heartfelt feelings that I get when I watch a Ted Lasso.
That's the thing. Ted Lasso is like, I know this show's going to give me heart. And this show, it sneaks up on you, and you're like, I didn't know it was going to do that.
Because everyone's kind of angry, and there's a lot of tension and drama, and yet I feel really like, and also the food, the way they shoot the food being made, it is legit, like real food being made.
You will straight up be salivating, like, and be like,
so
oh
hungry.
My God. Like,
I just finished episode 4, and there's a whole episode shot as they send one of their guys over to learn in a totally different location.
Copenhagen, yeah.
And there's a great big name actor who's there helping teach him, and like, I don't know, I just thought that whole
Marvel
thing was,
actor, recently.
It's just so good. It's like them having small talk while they're making these super high class desserts and stuff.
Yes.
And
Tatum. Is it Tatum?
And he's straight up showing him. He's straight up showing him. He's literally just showing him how to like put icing on a plate or something like that, some type of paste.
Yeah.
And he's like, you gotta, and then you gotta mold it with your hand, and then you gotta put it on there. But while they're doing it, they're like, "So where'd you grow up and stuff?" Like,
it's really good.
You would think this sounds boring as hell, but it's some
really
of the most
good.
intense, butt-clenching, thrilling stuff you'll watch in TV. Because when they do a dinner rush scene, especially in the first season, there's a scene where the main girl, she just starts there. Like, I think episode 1 is like she gets hired. And she is a very capable chef. She wants to get a star. That's like the whole rating system that they do.
Michelin star.
A Michelin star, yeah.
And she messes up something to do with the online orders, and it's just the receipts just keep coming and coming and coming. She forgot to like bottleneck it, I guess, or something, or if she forgot to turn it off after hours or whatever. And the whole episode is one single take of them trying to manage that. Like it's like a 30-minute.
It's a long shot, and they keep zooming through the kitchen, and like it's beautifully done.
It is so stressful. It is like as stressful as an action
for something
movie.
About like cook at like a restaurant. It's like you almost feel like it's like overboard, but like it's still cool. Like like
and it feels honest too. Because I've been in kitchens. I've served tables. I've been in kitchens as a QA, or I guess a line, whatever you call those people on the line.
Line cook.
Yeah, like that put food together and check it and send it out, and then go, no, I need this redone. I need a refire on this. So like all the stuff they're saying rings true to me. All the top, Michelin star level chef stuff, sous chef stuff. I'm like, what the hell are they saying? I have no idea what they're saying.
Agreed.
But that's the thing. Like, it's hard to pitch this because you're like, a show about running a restaurant. I don't know. No,
it's great, man.
But
it's great.
It's very R-rated. Like it's. I don't know. It talks about like panic attacks in a very authentic way. Like everything about the show just feels real.
It's very, very good.
So
and it's very funny. Like some of their quips at each other, I find to be very humorous and like it's really great. And also the lead, I had never seen him in anything before. I think he's been in some other big shows.
Shameless is the main show.
I never watched Shameless.
Oh, sure, yeah.
But he reminds me, and I mean this as an incredible compliment. I think he's like all the good things that Shia LaBeouf could have been, like with his intensity and his ability.
Yes.
Like,
Sure.
I actually feel like Shia LaBeouf could have been, and maybe he could be. I don't know. I'm not trying to insult him either. I just feel like I get a similar vibe of like he captivates you on when he's on the screen, and he can be really low and kind of serious, and all of a sudden just fly off.
Yeah. He's got the kind of facial expression where it's like, oh, this guy could pop off at any second. Kind of like Shia does.
He's great at it, man.
But he's so good. He's so good at being calm and like a guy you want to hang out with at the same time. It's it's interesting.
Great.
It's season 2 is freaking-tastic.
Highly recommend that. All right, I'm going to go through a couple of quick hits here, and then we'll just kind of go through the list. It'll be Tim, Kyle, Jeff, Derek, then Dan. So here we go. A couple of Netflix shows I recommend. I just mainly been on documentary mode. That's where my mind is these days. I love a good documentary. So I'm mixing it up between like some of the true crime stuff, some of the mystery stuff, and some of the nature stuff. I already talked about Chimp Empire. Highly recommend that. I watched Into the Deep, the submarine murder case, which is insane and also very timely with given the recent news with the submarine stuff. Which is very sad. But this is different but the same in that you've got a kind of a
different
crazy,
but same.
But the same. Yeah. Thank you, Jeff. Thank you. But basically, there's a really kind of rich, crazy inventor dude who is accused of murdering this reporter who goes missing after going on a ride with just him on his sub. And then when he comes back, he has all these reasons why she's no longer there. He dropped her off. Oh no, wait, she died. She actually hit her head and fell in. No, actually, I had to like. There's all kinds of stories that come out, but it turns out he was already being filmed by a documentary filmmaker in the weeks leading up to this, even the morning of the murder. And you get to see his interviews and just his state of mind as he's getting ready to go murder someone. It's very fascinating. I think it's a good one. If you like documentaries. The Puppet Master, Hunting the Ultimate Con Man, is this dude from the UK who keeps pretending he's an MI5 agent and dupes so many people out of so much money. It's actually very sad, but very well done show.
I don't know how you do that in the current age where it's like, I just Googled you and no, you don't work there. Or whatever.
It's funny. It takes a couple decades into his story for someone to be like, so we called MI5. I'm like, why didn't anyone do this?
Nobody thought to do that.
I guess he had good cover of like they would never acknowledge that I'm working for them because I'm undercover and secret agent.
Yeah. They're really good at lying.
And it was in Ireland. He's a master manipulator, so that's why it's called the Puppet Master. Is he gets these people under his spell? It's almost like a cult leader, but with very small targeted groups of people that he goes after. Really good. And then Aftershock, Everest, and the Nepal earthquake. Of course, it's tragic stuff that happened, but it's beautifully shot on Mount Everest and Kathmandu and in the valley there near Everest. It's just amazing footage and images and great interviews from folks who survived.
If you like that type of documentaries where it's not disaster ones, but ones where it's like well shot. I think there's it's called 14 Peaks. It's about the guy who went to all the 14 highest peaks.
Netflix is advertising that one to me now.
You got to watch that one, dude, because they legit like. I don't think he was able to succeed, but he was trying to do it in a. I can't remember what happened actually, but like I have to watch it again.
Time limit or something.
But it was like in X amount of months. If I do it, I beat a world record. So he was like just marathoning all these highest peaks.
Jesus.
And they got all the footage, and I think the guy that shot it also shot like that the Thai cave rescue documentary. He also shot the Free Solo movie. So it's like people involved like know how to shoot this stuff and get in the trenches with the people that are doing the craziest shit in the world.
I love that kind of stuff, and I do love when it's beautifully shot. That's why I think Chimp Empire is one of the most amazing documentaries. It's shot so
the first episode of that.
Beautifully. And that apparently is a chimp group that's been studied closely with humans within feet of these chimps for generations of these chimps that have come and gone. So like they're very used to human contact.
That explains why the chimps are not like what
they couldn't do it with most of the tribes. They would either, of course, hide from the humans or potentially attack them for being in their space. So like that's why they're able to get so up close and personal. That's why they know their history and their names, and that's why Chimp Empire was so good. It was like watching like a drama play out because they give you the names and how old they are and like who likes who and who's in what position of power.
Who's the alpha? Yeah.
It's great. And then we got a whole bunch of Steam demos. Let me just give you a thumbs up, thumbs down. You should try it because I won't list them all because I've played a ton of demos. I didn't even list them all here because it's the Steam Next Fest, which ends on Monday. That's going on right now. So many demos, but Lies of P, I recommend trying it. Ebenezer and the Invisible World, Jeff mentioned that last week. I don't really recommend trying it. That game needs a lot of work before I could recommend it.
It needs a lot of it's potential, but like lack of polish. Yeah.
Very, very kind of janky in some of the movement and stuff. But cool art style. Station to Station, only recommend it if you really like kind of casual, what do they call those? Like the comforting, relaxing puzzle type games.
Sure.
I don't really recommend that one. Jump Light Odyssey, I wish that I was in the mood for like a control your ship and kind of think of like, what was that one where you were a Gru like villain and you built up your fort? What was that one called?
Oh.
It just came out last year, another one, like a villain's lair or something. What was it
Overlord?
called? Evil Genius. Is that right?
Oh.
Oh, sure.
It's kind of like that, but in space. So you're building up your ship. You got to build like a greenhouse. You got to build a medical bay and all this stuff. And so you're on the run as a captain of this spaceship, and then you have to kind of keep your crew. You have to assign them to different departments. Like it's very
art style is really cool, but the gameplay is not.
But the art style. As soon as I saw it, I thought of Kyle especially. And I don't know if Dan, if you like old school anime stuff, but it had a very old like. I'm talking like 70s, 80s style of anime cartoon and the opening cutscene. I was like, this is a cool style. But the
Like
gameplay
Ninja Scroll.
didn't. The gameplay was more isometric.
Okay.
Things like so. Slavic Punk Old Timer. Do not recommend that one. Don't
Hated
don't
that
waste time. Gourd is kind of cool if you like city builders. So Gourd is an interesting one if you like that.
Gourd.
I'll let Jeff talk about Ugly. I do recommend that one. Laika Aged Through Blood is one of the most violent, disturbing games I've played.
Oh, you have my attention.
So not only is it kind of furry themed, you've got the anthropomorphic animals, but it's like
Gaston.
it's a Mad Max post-apocalyptic setting. It's very deserty. Like there's these tribes that hate each other, and it is insanely violent. There's blood everywhere. Like a character at the beginning gets crucified and hung up by their own intestines. But it's a side-scrolling cartoony game.
Why?
So it's for all the happy Tree Time fans.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
But it's very, very overly serious. Like it's super. It's not meant to be like there's no element of like, oh, they're having fun with this to it. It's very serious.
I love this art style.
But
This art is like beautiful.
But it plays like Trials, the motorcycle game, kind of with guns.
Oh, okay.
Trials with guns.
Oh my gosh.
This is this kind of reminds me the tone of what you're saying. What's that side-scrolling one that's like a fox? You're like the fox. That's like you're a samurai fox. There was a demo last year for it. I can't remember.
Souls 6.
Oh no,
Souls?
you streamed that one, right?
Yeah. Or I had made a video on our YouTube.
Yeah,
I can't
I know
remember.
what you're talking about.
Yeah,
but it's similar
it's
vibe.
like violent. Yeah, like
very
very
serious,
violent.
very violent. Yep.
But anthropomorphic.
But yeah.
Backbone?
No.
It was one that
Hold
Dan
Hold on, I'll pull it up.
streamed. But anyway, like Age Through Blood, it's super, super violent. They even describe like how it was like a kid who was crucified this way, and they describe how they tortured him first. It's insane. I was like, how can you put this in a game? But it does play really interesting.
Yeah, 9 Souls, but
9 Souls. I
SOLS.
like 6.
Okay.
Yeah,
That's a good game. It's tough though, but yeah, it's good.
Yeah.
House Flippers 2, if you like those kind of games, it's exactly like one. And then Sea of Stars. Sea of Stars, I played the demo of that and was reminded of how much I love that. So I'm excited for Sea of Stars.
I haven't actually even played the demo for that yet.
Yeah.
It's really good. I highly recommend
I have it
it.
downloaded too.
Kyle, what do you got? Anything you've been playing or watching?
What was that book game that just came out that we were talking about earlier on Xbox
Bookwalker.
Game Pass? Yeah, not a Kyle game, so I uninstalled that immediately. But I did get an Xbox Series X
That's
recently, so I was able to play a lot of stuff. I loaded up Halo for a bit and played some online matches. They finally have Infection mode, my favorite mode, so
Yes.
that was a lot of fun. I got to play with some of my buddies on that. Loaded up the campaign for a second. I'm like, oh, the Series S is trash. Cool. And even threw on Sea of Thieves for a second. I was like, oh man, yeah, the water, blah 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 blah. But yeah, I'm happy I got that console. I got it for the Starfield mostly, but loading up even like Horizon 5 was like breathtaking. It was just like, oh wow, this is like running at 120 hertz and it's just beautiful. And I'm happy to get the upgrade, and very happy to be like turning on my Xbox a little more these days.
Yeah, same here.
So,
by the way, did you
even though I don't like the game that just came out recently with the books and stuff like that, it's cool to be able to play a game like that and get a temperature check on it and stuff like that without there being like an entry fee. So
What did you on Forza when you went in? Did you have like 20 mega spins waiting for you?
I had 1,000 things waiting for me.
Yeah,
So
I was
many.
like, what the hell? There's so much stuff.
Yeah, they
here.
keep paying you.
So many.
It's
Over
so
and
cool. It's such a
over
great
and over.
reward system.
I will say that
Um,
the Bookwalker game does have an interesting premise where they want you, and you have these shackles on as a writer, where they send you on these like heists within these stories to steal items and then deliver them back in these magic briefcases. So like the whole idea of running a heist, kind of, it's like a point and click adventure heist game, I think, is what the vibe I got.
Yeah, it's point and click for sure. Yeah.
But the concept of it was interesting, where you go into a story and you're a book walker who can go into stories, steal an item, and bring it out to the real world. So I thought that was interesting.
That is
But
interesting.
I could not. I mean, on PC, my character loaded in correctly the first time, and then every time after that, I tried closing it, reloading it. It would not. My character wouldn't load into the book that it was.
Yeah,
supposed to.
there's such little things that you have to interact with that like playing this game like on a controller just doesn't feel very good. Whereas I imagine like with a mouse and stuff like that, like it's such intricate little things you have to press on that like I caught myself like overshot it, and it just didn't feel good to play. And I don't and in general I don't like those types of games. It's not a Kyle game, but if you like point and click games like Monkey Island and stuff like that, like this might be a game that
it might be there.
Checked out for sure.
Agreed. Cool. Jeff, what about you?
I mean, up until Final Fantasy, Diablo 4, I was like level 63. I know Kyle was up in the 70s. I don't know where. But like we made serious progress in that. Kyle more so, he was in World Tier 4. And I was like, I'm being a little pansy about it. Oh, I don't want to do it. It's too hard. But I was focusing on getting my renown first, which follows you from character to character. But still, it was like that achievement, that like dopamine rush of like, yes, I got it, guys. I got those 4 Paragon points. Anyway, that game's awesome.
Everyone's gonna be real mad when they realize they have to make a new character for season 1. So I'm excited.
That's what I heard.
Oh no! Oh, that's right. Renown resets too every season.
Now you'll get to keep everything, but like when you want to play new season content, like you have to create a character for that season. So it's like you don't use the character you're building up right now. So.
I'm glad I
people got real tunnel vision with this game because it's their first Diablo.
I did for sure.
Wait, so what's the reasoning for that?
Because they want people to play it like forever. That's what it is.
Because that's how all games with seasons work. That's how Fortnite. You kind of start over pretty much. It's a battle pass.
Even Rocket League does that. Like you kind of have to get re-ranked once the new season starts.
Well, I'm not trying to make fun or criticize, but like a lot of people are in your boat. We're like, I don't understand why this is the way it is. I'm like, well, we've been playing these types of games for a while, and this is just how they go.
Well, I just don't remember.
I don't love it. I'm not defending it because I think it's kind of dumb. But like that's what it is.
Especially a game that is so heavily leaning on progression. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, especially because like it even feels like they put enough time in. Like we want you to get to end game with this character. So when season 1 comes out, and it's just like that's not the case, But it does kind of pitch itself as that, Like season 1 starting, grind your characters now, But they don't. Those two things don't correlate.
I think I'll just beat the campaign and move on.
Are you close, Derek, on that one? I know.
I'm in Act 4, but
cool.
When I talk, when it's my turn,
cool.
There's a reason I'm not going any further.
All right, Jeff, why don't you give us your Next Fest demo quick hits?
Next Fest demo demos Devil Within Sagat Now I gotta play it much longer.
Are you stuck?
It is a side-scrolling like samurai game with some magic elements in it. But it's like it's purposely difficult, so it's it's a Souls-like element to it. The combat just wasn't clicking for me. It just wasn't fluid enough for me. Like I made it clear I'm more of like if I hit the button, I want it to freaking do something right away. Like I need to be immediate, not I know the rhythm now. Let me parry this way. Anyway, so I quit that one a little bit. On guard. On guard. It's the thing that fencers say and shit. So it is. This actually does take place in like old France, and it's supposed to be like a cartoony, like funny comedy, like thing where you're a swordsman, and you do the whole posing with behind your back and you're attacking people. But like the cool thing about it is you use the environment to like take people down. Like you can kick boxes at them and make them stumble, or you can kick them in the water. You can kick them off ledges. There's basically kicking things into people is an attack tactic. And there's some parkour elements to it as well.
Parkour.
Oh.
It's a silly game all around, but yeah, I'm totally gonna buy it whenever it comes out.
Okay,
It was
cool.
really fun. Fortune's Run, Fortune's ran away from this game. I did not have a good time with it. It was a
Yeah, good to know.
first-person retro, like Quake era type of first-person. I think it was supposed to be a first-person shooter. Didn't ever get to any shooting because they kept trying to get me to do again parkour stuff. But it was so bad, and like I just wasn't having a good time trying to figure all that out, so I just uninstalled it. Little Kitty Big City. It's basically Stray, but it's more cartoony and more, in our world. It's not a sci-fi world. And you have the left trigger swats your left paw, and the right trigger swats your right paw.
All right.
It's really
Easy
sweet.
Allies brings this up all the time, and they're like, "We're so pumped for this game." I'm like, "Is this a bit?" Like, I don't.
Can you
I
like
can
knock
understand
stuff
being
off the
excited
edge of
about
a
it.
ledge? Can you,
Yeah,
like-
yeah.
Hold on,
But
so
like
is
they
it
do
like
this
jump
stuff
on
all the time where
ledges?
they'll champion some game
Yeah.
that no one cares about.
Yeah, like the
so
Citizen Sleeper.
Giant
Is
Bomb
this a
does
sequel?
the same
I love
thing.
that.
I swear there was a
Yeah.
first one to this because it's ringing a bell. Like
Little Kitty Big City.
This is the only one I know of.
Great.
And then
Okay.
this is another one of my favorites is Luna Abyss, which is a first-person shooter. It's set in like a space station you wake up in, and your body's all messed up, but you have like this AI kind of like a Cortana that's like, hey, I can guide you through this. The shooting feels so good, and the things you have to do to like navigate between room to room, it's not just simple walk from this room to this room. There's actually some like little very easy puzzles you have to shoot out and stuff to get from room to room. The graphics look great, very current gen looking. In the score when you load it up is like, why does the score go this hard? It's so good. So I've got my eye on that
It's
one.
got like
You
a lot
mentioned-
of red and black. So
yeah, red and blacks. It's pretty. It's awesome. Slavic Punk you mentioned. Once it got to the actual combat, I hated it. Turned it off.
So
and
bad.
uninstalled it. It was bad. It was awful.
Yeah.
Stray Gods, the role-playing musical, was on my radar because of who was involved. It was like all the heavy hitters in voice acting: Troy Baker and Laura Bailey, etc. But it's literally what it sounds like: role-playing musical. Like you pick your character trait, and then your character sings a song while you have to look at the screen. It's so cringe. It's a big pass. Like the art style is so cool, but like no to all that.
No.
And then you mentioned Ugly, and that was my favorite game that I played. Period.
So good.
Out of all these demos, it looks like it's hand-drawn animated, but you play like this character that I think it's called Ugly because you're supposed to be like a duckling, but he doesn't have a bill. He's kind of flat.
He's an ugly
but
little
it's
fella.
orange. Yeah.
Just say sounds ugly.
And the cool thing about this is it's a puzzle platformer, so there's not any action, but the puzzles are like more reflection oriented. So like you pick a spot on the map and it plants a mirror, and your mirror image will run in like the opposite direction of you, and you can toggle back and forth between your reflection. So sometimes you'll have to like hit a button to go to the other side, and sometimes you have to do it to like get to high up places
Yeah,
too.
you can look down and put the mirror, and then you go down, and your reflection will go up higher.
Like you'll be climbing a ladder, you'll be going down a ladder, and
creative.
your reflection's going up, and it's so freaking clever.
You know what game it reminded me of? It reminded me of Braid. Even though Braid uses
I
like
don't think I
time,
played
kind of like a time rewind feature,
Mhm.
but the visual style and the puzzles and the way that you kind of have to use your rewound version of yourself to get to an area you couldn't have gotten before. Like it's very similar in terms of its clever puzzles. If you liked the game Braid, which was pretty popular,
I haven't played that, but I have heard obviously like great things. It's one of like
people love Braid.
it was like during some indie revolution of some kind that was getting
back-
Dr.
back
Pepper.
when, like,
For a lot of people.
360
Yeah.
era.
It was
right?
360, like Castle Crashers and Explosion Man and Braid.
Meat Boy.
Explosion Man, yeah, all right.
Yeah.
Boy, there was also
yeah,
that.
this
There was also that
seems great, though.
Metroidvania game where you're like a secret agent. What was that one called? That was very popular for a while. there.
Shadow
Anyway,
Complex.
Shadow Complex. Yeah. All those.
Oh,
That's a
yeah,
good game,
Shadow
dude.
Complex
That
is
game is
great,
so
dude.
good.
I
I
played
love
the
that-
remaster of it. Oh,
Great.
it's
Yeah,
awesome.
It's a great game.
So movies and shows. I saw the new Wes Anderson movie, Asteroid City. Literally all of Hollywood's in this movie. And if you don't like Wes Anderson movies, don't see it. But it does have his brand of humor in it, where the humor is very unexpected. There's a kid that there's a recurring bit where a kid keeps asking people around him, "Do you dare me to lick this light bulb?" or whatever, something dangerous, and everybody always says no, and then he does it anyway. And then,
I like that.
but the thing is, he asks you in the shot, "Hey, do you dare me to do this?" Somebody says no, and then the camera will move over to another conversation, and in the background you'll see the after effects of him doing the dare, like him like being like, "I ate a hot pepper," and like it's so freaking funny to me, but it's not going to be everybody's cup of tea at all. I saw the Jennifer Lawrence movie No Hard Feelings. Very, very funny first half, and then the back half gets a very Lifetime movie for me, like Hallmark, like just like too feel good and forgetting all the jokes that were very R-rated, and like I was like, what the hell happened? They just ran out of steam after the first half. But up until that point, I was like, dude, Jennifer Lawrence needs to be in like comedies almost exclusively. She is very naturally funny. And Skull Island, a new Netflix series, which is animated. It's set in the monster universe with Godzilla and Kong. It's actually very funny. I'm kind of surprised at all the humor in it, but other than that, I mean, it's what you'd expect from an animated series in this franchise, where it's like lots of monsters and people in peril and big set pieces. But the humor is what I took away from it. I was like, oh my gosh, these guys actually wrote the hell out of the show.
That's cool. I like
early
that.
on. Yeah, so it's pretty good. That's it though. I don't want to talk anymore.
All right, that's good. It's good. Derek, what about you?
So I missed last week, so I'll do quick hits, but like it's from the last week and a half.
Sure.
So there's a theme for shows and movies. I only really watched one movie besides watching The Flash again, and that was I watched Final Fantasy Advent Children in 4K. Yes. It's a little rough in 4K. Still great movie, but like as far as like it's not 4K.
Well, the movie's like what 20 years old. Like,
yeah, it's old.
It's real old, and you can tell. Still good movie though. I really enjoyed it. As far as games,
it came out before motion capture was like a real thing.
Yeah.
So like everything.
Like they animated
it. It was genuine computer animated.
Yeah, it was really good. I beat Crisis Core Reunion.
Dude, I can't believe you actually like played and finished that. Like,
no, I loved it.
To me. I just, I like
the
Zach
combat's what I loved. Like the characters are over the
game,
top. I still like the story, and like I said in the chat, I'm really, really glad I beat it. Like obviously, I knew the big spoiler at the end, but I didn't know how it happened, why it happened. So to be able to play it through and see why, and then go and beat Final Fantasy VII Remake again. So I played New Game Plus, so I went ahead and played it on the PS5. I already liked Final Fantasy VII Remake, but I remember on the podcast, out of all the people, I was definitely the one that was the most negative. I had the most issues with the game overall. I just didn't enjoy it as much as you guys. That's not how I feel now. Like, sure, there was a couple fights that I still found frustrating. Like, that house is absolutely dumb.
Dude, that house is
just
awesome.
a dumb boss.
It's like, people had such a hard time with that, and like I breezed right through that fight. Like I don't know.
Hated that house.
I think it's awesome. I just think it's.
I mean, I beat him the first time, but he was still annoying. He was one of the most annoying that I.
Oh
fought.
Yeah. Oh no. Now I'm remembering. Yeah, I have PTSD flashbacks now. I was shouting hardcore at my TV during that fight.
I remember a lot of people having like issues.
It was more like obviously when the colors change, you have
the elements shifting.
Your elements, but. My issue was like every time I would go to like, because you would have to figure out what you have equipped or whatever to like make a move, the house would lunge at me and beat the crap out of me and start chasing me, and I'm like, dude, I can't even. But anyways, that was the only fight that I think really gave me any issues. Everybody else was cool, but it was kind of cool to replay it and then see that this is typical Final Fantasy, where it's like, as you get towards the end of the game, it's boss, bigger boss. Take a 2-second break. Boss. I'm like, dude, is this game gonna end? I do not remember this many bosses. But absolutely loved it. The ending was amazing. The setup for part 2, and then like I said, because I had just finished Crisis Core, the ending of 7 part 1, obviously I'm talking about, meant a lot more to me because I was like, oh my gosh, there's just a scene where Zach like stands up and he's like, so I guess that's all of them, and I got goosebumps. I was like, oh my gosh, I just watched that scene, So it was really cool.
Well,
and then the other game I beat was Hogwarts. So I knocked out 3 games that I was really excited to.
Those are big games, man.
Yeah, those are big games.
Well, I just playing the hell out of it.
Did you ever play the original 7, Derek? Like, did you ever?
I got like over halfway through it. But I haven't finished it.
Okay. Because I was
Sorry, go
I was
ahead.
throwing it to
Played
Jeff.
it.
Well, I was saying to Jeff to like if he doesn't intend on playing OG, like at least watch like a recap video.
Yeah, I'll watch the video, but I'm not gonna circle back and play that.
Yeah. But I would say actually too, Jeff, if you're not gonna get through Crisis Core, just like Derek did, like at least like watch something for that too, because the ending.
Oh no, I'm totally gonna play Crisis Core. I mean, it's right
Okay,
there and it's
okay.
enjoyable to play. Yeah.
Hmm.
I was gonna ask about Hogwarts. How did you? Are you the only other person here that beat it all the way through, other than me, or nobody else beat Hogwarts, right? You beat it? Oh, okay. Yeah. My only complaint was like with the finale was like wrapped up a little too quickly and neatly.
Yeah, it did.
And I felt like that was because it was the developer going, guys, we got to release this game. We can't work on this for
Yeah.
another year or whatever.
I would
That's what it felt.
agree. I mean, I'm not gonna spoil it, but there's a certain like villain in the story that I was like, oh, he's just done. Okay, all right, that was.
Oh
weird.
yeah,
It-
I know who you're talking. Yeah,
kinda
I was like, oh
wrapped
my
up
god, this
really
guy's gonna be
fast.
cool, and he just disappeared like after.
Yeah,
a
he just
brief
wrapped
cutscene.
up real fast.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay. He just like confronts me. We fight. He's dead. It's done. I'm like, oh, all right, that was dumb.
Yeah.
But overall, I liked the game a lot, and it's one
Yeah.
of those games. I mean, you guys have figured it out. I do replay games, so I'm definitely going to circle back. There's going to be some year where I'll look at Hogwarts and be like, you know, I want to play this again, and I'll just breeze through
Yeah,
it. I'll
that's
do
what I've
a
been-
game.
I thought the final battle was pretty
Teaching
epic
me.
though. I liked the final.
Oh, yeah, the
battle.
final
Oh,
battle
that
itself
final
was
battle, like
Yeah.
I actually struggled with it for a little bit
Yeah.
because I was having trouble like getting my bearings with
I was
like
getting so mad.
how
Pretty good though.
how
Because the camera was
powerful he
like,
was.
wouldn't let me look up to see what color he was or the things were, the bubbles were that I had to shoot at. And I was like, what the
Yeah.
hell's going on? Like, I couldn't see.
Like
Uh,
before we had games like Resident Evil 4, Jedi Survivor, Final Fantasy 16. Before those, this was like the most cinematic game
Yeah.
of 2023. For a little while there, but then other things came in.
Yeah.
Still a really good game.
Excellent game. Love it.
But yeah, I was really excited to get through those. And I played more Diablo. I did get to Act 4. I have a mount. When I played, I mainly just play it co-op, but I was playing always in Jesse's world, so I wasn't advancing. So that's the only thing that kind of sucked. So I'm not burnt out on it. I still like the game, but I just want to get through the story and be done with it because I would rather play, well, Final Fantasy 16, and then there's just other games that I want to play.
I get it.
Nice.
But I like
And-
when I get an itch and then boom, I just like
Yeah.
knock crap out, and that's
Yeah.
Final Fantasy. Like I played Crisis Core pretty fast, but I freaking knocked out Final Fantasy VII like super fast.
You did.
Where did
I
you-
just kept
Because I
playing,
remember
kept
you
playing,
posted
kept
when you
playing.
were like, "Hey, I started it," and
Where did you play Crisis Core, Derek?
4 days later, you were done.
PC.
Oh, okay. I just don't know if you got it on PS5 or not. Okay.
Oh,
Dan, what about you? Wrap us up.
I mean, Final Fantasy, obviously.
Mhm.
Never heard of it.
Still a little, yeah, never heard of it. New game, indie developer. Just a little bit of Diablo still. I'm co-oping that with the wife, so we're kind of just like slowly plugging away at that. And then I actually am taking a small break of streaming, literally just so I can have some extra free time for 16, like a week and a half,
Sure.
like nothing super long. But I just really want to just be playing 16. I finished Donkey Kong Country 3 though the other day,
Nice.
which is actually my favorite Donkey Kong Country.
Such a good
Good
one,
one.
man.
Yeah, it's a good one.
I do want to do the full completion though, so I finished it, but like I need to go back and do like that bonus world, and then there's
That's the one
all
with the baby, right?
Yeah, Kitty Kong,
Yeah,
which
he's
apparently
great.
everybody hates.
I like Kitty Kong.
like I'm playing the game and people are like, oh, this freaking baby in the chat, and it's like, why do you guys all hate the baby? Like I don't understand.
How are you playing?
Why don't you stream Final? Like not right now. Play it and beat it. But are you gonna stream Final Fantasy 16 eventually? Like,
Yeah, I would say
fairly
eventually.
soon.
Not fairly soon, because I want to do 1 through 6, because I got the Pixel Remaster
Collection, yeah.
but like I want to do those in order, and then
I
kind
actually
of
want to buy that now.
Yeah.
How did you play Donkey
Can you
Kong?
buy it
Is
digital?
Donkey Kong Country 3 on like Switch whatever emulator or something, or what?
So it is on the Switch.
Online or whatever?
Yeah. I am playing on my Super Nintendo Classic,
Oh, okay, that's fun.
but I don't remember if it came out on that. If you know what I'm saying, wink,
Yeah.
wink.
I don't know what you mean. I don't know what you mean at all.
Oh,
Explain
yeah, I
to
don't
me
know what you
explicit
mean.
detail.
I can tell you that in just a second. Let me
Absolutely
go
not.
look.
Yeah.
Sorry, Derek was going to ask you a question about the.
I was just asking if the collection is digital or is it only physical?
It is. So what's stupid is, and I in my head I had it pictured that like I'd plug in the CD, it would load up like the collection, and then there'd be like a really nice like menu where you'd cycle through them. No, it doesn't do that. It literally digitally installs each one.
Oh, nice.
Like,
what is that, Tim?
That's the SNES classic thing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I have that.
The DKC3 is not on there, just the first one.
I have the special one, Tim. I have the special one.
He has a special one that he got from Japan, totally from Mr. Nintendo.
I see what you're saying.
Japan.
You're like those guys who had the PSP but played 0 PSP games on it. I get it.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, I think that's like when I'm, because I played 2 like a few weeks back and finished it, and then I started 3, and I keep saying like 3 is my favorite because like it seems like the consensus is 2, I think, is overall people's favorite. Like they think that's the best one, but I don't know. Like 3 just has like the best secrets in it. I like all the things you can unlock it. Like that there's the bonus world, but then there's also like those banana birds that you unlock in those in the caves, right? There's a cave, and then like there's even something further beyond the bonus world. I think there's like 3 endings for that game, which is actually really cool. So like you can kind of just keep going. There's all these unlockable things. I think
those DKC games have the most satisfying like room full of bananas that you collect as many as you can. It's just so great.
There's just so many elements to the third one that's just like the progression of like getting all the little vehicles to keep going up further, the overworld
I forgot
thing
about that.
Yeah, and then there's a secret like vehicle that you get that I think is connected to the banana bird. So like I don't know, man. It's just it reminds me of like those games back in the day of like just the secrets and the unlockable, kind of like with Final Fantasy, like finding the ultimate weapon, right? You have to like figure that out and like go on a quest to do that. Like I just miss those like little elements of those older games, and I think Donkey Kong Country 3 does that the best. So
yeah, that's excellent.
So one last question, and then we can close the show. With Final Fantasy Pixel Collection, is it really like is there any changes that if I bought that, I would get a better product than if I bought just the individual games that are always on sale on Steam?
They're remastered. Yeah, well what's available on Steam?
Like, what does it mean?
It's just it doesn't look the same as the original ones.
I think Steam only has those, doesn't it?
Yeah, I thought
it has the collection
listed. Yeah, if it has the collection, then that's what I have.
Okay.
But like basically the music, like I think you can swap between the old versions of the music, like the the chipset music, or like the newer renditions of it. Visually, like it's pixelated, but it's new pixelated.
I'll
like
buy it. It's $75 right now. So
I think on Steam you couldn't buy, like, for example, Final Fantasy IV on Steam without. I think that all they have is a pixel remastered.
It's this version now. Yeah, I think they delisted.
They have 1, 6, 4, 5, 3, and 2, and then they have 1 through 6 bundled.
Right. Yeah. So you can buy.
You're saying those are.
You can buy them separately.
They don't have a non-pixel remastered version available on Steam. I don't think. I think they only have the pixel.
They have the DS one. They do have the DS one.
They have the 3D ones, the 3D remakes, and they'll say in the title 3D remake.
Yeah. But yeah, if you it's basically like obviously there are some purists out there that are like, oh, it doesn't look the same. It's like whatever, I don't care. Like it. Yeah. So if you want to play what the old ones were, but like kind of with the little bells and whistles, then you played that. So.
All right, guys. Well, we'll wrap up this week. I did want to say, I know Dan touts himself as the big Square fan around here, but I think I've actually played some Square content that you've never played before.
Oh, what's that, Tim?
I played it this week. I did the free DLC for Power Wash Simulator, where you get to clean stuff
until you beat Forspoken. You're not at my level.
You know what I'm gonna do? I'm about to power wash this bullshit. All right.
So you actually clean. You actually go into the bar, Tifa's bar, and you clean the whole bar, and then
I know.
You're out.
I saw somebody streaming it. I was like, oh, all right. Well, this is actually kind of cool, but like
it's got lots of little like Easter eggs in there too, which is like unnecessary but they did it anyway.
that is a very odd collab there, but like, hey, awesome that they.
Yeah, Square, those games of Square.
Yeah,
so
that's cool that they were like, yeah, you can power wash, whatever. Like,
I thought it was really funny because I was like, does that say Midgar for real? Like the DLC, and I opened it up and I was like, this is like you're cleaning Cloud's bike. Derek just hung up.
He's like, I'm done.
So perfect. All right. Well, that does wrap up our show. It's been a long one, but it's been a fun one. We'll talk to you guys next week. See ya.